behind so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey!
It's Thursday. It's Thursday. It's game day.
Possible game day.
Well, possible game
Jay,
day.
yesterday we were 3 people. I feel like I'm so far away from you now.
I know. Bull and I were as close as we've ever been.
I know, you guys could pretty much
Bull
you guys
was
could
where
kiss.
you are. I was where G is.
I'm like, hello, Jay!
It's funny, I'm still able to hear him.
Yeah, what a shocker.
Imagine
What a
that.
shocker. By the way, quick story. But first, let's
Great
say
to
hi
have
to
G
G
Boys
back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ray
yeah,
is
I'm
back.
back in the building.
Playing
man.
hurt, but
Yeah.
back in the building.
And
Yeah.
Bernie Kosar on today, and
Bernie will be
Maurice in a
sitting where
moment.
his helmet is right now.
But bizarre thing that I just realized, and I forgot to mention it this week, but I know personally the Yankees first base coach, and I didn't realize he was the Yankees first base coach.
How do you know
Like
him?
I haven't kept in
Who
touch
is
with him
it?
over the years. Okay, so the Yankees first base coach is a guy named Travis Chapman.
Okay.
I had no idea he was coaching first for the Yankees. So, and I haven't spoken to him in years. I'll tell you how I know him. But so they mentioned, I was like, it can't be the same Travis Chapman, and it was. So Travis Chapman was drafted by the Phillies and played in their minor league system.
Oh.
He was drafted in 2000, and in 2000 I was doing play-by-play in Batavia, which was the Phillies' A-ball stop.
And he was there.
So he played for our team in 2000, was a great guy. I was very friendly with him, knew him well. In fact, funny story, had a great year. He had like an 800 OPS.
Wow.
He was a big doubles hitter. He's a really
Did he
good
ever play in
hitter.
the bigs or no?
One at bat.
No
Can you imagine that? 0 for 1. He got called to the big leagues in 2003. Remember, in those days, you had 40 guys in September.
Yeah.
He got called up as one of the 40-man. He didn't play basically the whole month. He finally got one at bat, I think the last week of the season. He made an out. He didn't strike out, I know, but he made an out. 0 for 1. That was it. He was out of baseball.
Wow.
So
that's
great. It's like Moonlight Graham almost.
I was going to say it.
He actually got a
reminds me of
hit.
Moonlight
Yeah.
Graham
Right?
story.
Like a sadder Moonlight Graham.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
It
here's-
is sad. Well, what would be awfully sad, and this has happened, obviously,
Yeah.
and you get called up.
Yeah.
You're ready for your first at-bat. The game ends with you're in the on-deck circle.
Right.
And
then
you
you
gotta
don't get-
tell that. Yeah, you're right.
But
That's
here's the funny thing that I don't know if he'd want me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny. I don't even know if this was ever public at the time because it's minor league baseball. Nobody cared. He had an awesome season for us in Batavia. He was like a doubles machine. I think he led the league in doubles.
roided up.
No.
Oh.
But well, yes.
All right, good.
But not steroids. Hemorrhoids.
What? No.
Late in the season, he had a major problem with hemorrhoids, and every time he had to run, he would run it was so funny. He had to run funny because he had a headache.
To make him faster.
Yeah, he definitely would not want that being public.
Right.
But it was so funny. We were joking about it, but he was such a nice guy.
And now he's the Yanks
And
first
then he
base
just,
coach.
he was out of baseball, and I didn't even know. And then I saw they said first base coach Travis Chapman, and I was looking at him like, that's him. It's 20 years later, but I'm like, that's him.
Wow.
And then I looked it up. He'd been coaching in the minors for a while, and he got called.
I wonder
up.
what
How
his
does that
connection was to Aaron Boone.
Yeah, I was trying to think about that because Aaron Boone was never in the Philly system.
All I
but-
heard there, though, was if you are at the game, when the Guardians come home, if you're by first base side, you just chant, hemorrhoids, hemorrhoids, never got a hit, hemorrhoids. That's what I want to hear coming out of everybody.
One of the ways to make sure you win is to get under the skin of the first base coach.
There you go. Let's get it done.
It's underrated.
We got to fight where we can fight, you guys.
Surefire way to just really.
We have Sandy Alomar, so we have the huge advantage at first
Yeah.
base coach.
Right.
I mean, a huge advantage.
Big
Also-
time. He's a much more successful player.
Bethesda, by the way, Bethesda's the perfect name.
That we know of.
Bethesda's the perfect name for a single A team, like city name too. Is that where you said
Batavia
you were? Oh,
Muck Dogs.
Batavia. Never
Yes.
mind.
Yeah,
it's
Batavia.
great.
That's
Batavia
so
Muck Dogs.
perfect.
It's great.
that reminds
Batavia.
me of people chanting and doing dugout cheers. And then
Yeah.
we at what age do you realize
12.
this don't work?
Yeah,
We want a pitcher, not a belly
Now,
itcher.
softball, they do it all the way
No,
till
I know,
till
it's
the end of their
crazy.
careers. Yeah, it's a little odd. It's kind of an odd
Moms,
tradition, but
you guys aren't chattering out there.
Yeah.
I remember that. Pick it up, guys.
Sandy, would you be quiet? You're embarrassing everyone. Sandy.
I tell my kids to cheer, not do like chants, but I tell
Right.
them like doing, cheer for their teammates and stuff like that.
I remember when I coached my son's regular Little League team. It wasn't travel because you never see that at travel. They know
right,
it
it's a
doesn't
little
work.
more mature.
But in a rec league one time in the championship game, the other dugout was this was their strategy.
Yeah.
We're not going to shut up the entire
That's so
game.
corny.
And
Yeah,
it
that
was
is
like by
lame.
the third inning, even their own parents were going, guys, Can we please get this
Right.
It was so
That's a
bad.
strategy.
It was a strategy. It did not work, but it was a strategy.
You back there just looking at the views dropping off.
Yeah.
Just-
No, this is good. And, I remember I played baseball in high school, and even in high school, like sophomore year, we still were doing the, high pitch, batters throwing up, get a bucket, all that
Oh,
stuff.
come on.
high school?
In
McNuggets,
Yeah.
you were one
We
of
made the
them?
state championship game.
What?
The whole bench did it, yeah.
Bro,
Not
That
gonna
is
lie.
lame.
It's unheard of.
That's, oh my God.
I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm just saying it's what we did back in the mid-2000s.
What high school in New Jersey?
Henry Hudson Regional School, the smallest
No,
public
it's
high
like
school in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's literally class micro A.
We were the smallest public high school in New Jersey. Yeah,
I
literally.
know.
Do you know who? You want to watch these views drop? Who was Henry Hudson? Wait.
I don't really know who Henry
Well,
Hudson
the
is.
Henry Hudson Parkway
Yeah, well,
in,
Hudson
in,
Bay.
in New York.
Anybody in the comments, let us
Hudson
know who
River.
Henry Hudson is. Do the
River.
research. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I think he was an explorer.
Okay.
I have no
he was
idea,
an
to be
explorer.
honest.
Yeah, I can tell you
I'm
that.
not
I
going
just
to be a
don't
phony.
remember
I
what
don't
it was.
know.
Explorer. And the Hudson River is named after him as well. All right.
I'll say one thing real quick. We were the smallest public high school. We had a pitcher who went to the major leagues, which is why I made the state championship.
Oh, yeah, well, that'll do it. Especially in the small class.
His name was Jerry Vasto. He was a relief pitcher for the Rockies.
He struck out Bull's friend.
Play shortstop, too.
That would be ironic.
He did hit 700 too.
The
besides
stud
being the best
pitcher in high school always plays shortstop and always hits at
Oh, he
least
was a
500.
lefty, so he played center field. He was a lefty.
All right,
But
okay.
besides, we got Maurice Claret with us, though. What's up, Maurice?
Hey!
There he is. Hey, new
Different
background.
place.
You're down in the
What
man
is
cave,
going
aren't
on
you?
there?
Yeah, I'm in the man cave.
All right, I see what you're doing. I see what you're
planning
doing.
Hey, man.
Very
I
nice.
see a little granite over there.
Yeah,
You got a
on
little
point.
backsplash going. You trying to be somebody?
By the way, congrats, Maurice. I know
Yes,
last week you
that's
couldn't
right.
join us because you had something way more important,
you.
so congratulations.
Well, tell us what was way more important and tell us how it went.
Oh, well, if you want a story, the good part is that we had a new baby boy, and he came into the world October
Awesome
6th.
talk.
Yeah.
Buckeyes are already recruiting him.
Hey, Texas A&M already done hit him up. NIL.
No, but,
Confirmed.
hold on. So then my lady, she had complications after the procedure, and so I was up 26 hours. She had to have an emergency surgery after.
Oh,
right,
wow.
that was crazy. And
Is she
then I was
okay
for
now?
26. Yeah, she's okay now. We just got home last night about 11 p.m.
Oh.
And it was a lot going on. But I tell you this, it gave me a different respect for nurses who advocate for patients, because if she didn't advocate for, who knows, something could have went like a lot different than what it did.
Wow.
Two, advocate for patients, and then just I don't think you really appreciate women until you see what they go through to bring children into this world.
I couldn't agree more.
I definitely appreciate her a whole lot more. And I started to ask for more kids prior to, but after that I said, hey, we're done. So I couldn't do that no more.
So now let me ask you this, and I know it's very early in the game, but do you want your son to play football? And if you do, where would you like to see him play in college? And I know it's still early. We don't know how can he run? Can he hit the hole? I don't know yet. But what are your early answers to those two questions?
Yeah, I think the short answer, I would want my kids to play football or sports in general for all of the ancillary reasons. Like, I played as a means to an end for finances, right?
Right.
And I would want them to play just the camaraderie, the competitiveness, the toughness, just all the things you get from sports that don't necessarily show up on, I guess, the scorecard or whatever you want to call it. But I would definitely want them to play sports. Obviously, being selfish, I would want them to stay here and stay in state. I think one thing that a lot of guys don't understand is that, we seem to look at the colleges we want to go to, but I'm not sure that I would have this same success in business if I went to school at, Notre Dame, or if I went down to Miami, if I went to Tennessee. I'm from Ohio, so me doing business after I'm done playing a sport, playing for Ohio State, all those things benefited from something. Sure. I benefit from them. So hopefully there's things that I can do that they build upon and relationships to have. But I would want them to stay here in the state.
Very nice. Now, you said in the state. Does that mean anywhere but Ohio
Be
State?
a Bobcat?
Or does that mean you want him to go to Ohio State? Because we know that your relationship with the school has been a little bit tumultuous.
No, I would love for him to go. I would love for him to go down to Columbus. Hopefully in 15, 20 years, we still winning and the program still has it's a steam. The irony is that I talked to Jonathan Vilma and DJ Williams a lot, right? And it's almost crazy to believe that when they were in school down in Miami was this powerhouse, right? And nobody could ever imagine that Miami would be in the condition that it's in now.
Oh, that's a good
point. And so, as easy as we say, I'm pretty sure 20 years ago we would have never thought Miami would be spoken of like a lower tier program in college sports with all the talent down there, high school and everything else. But I'm hoping that Ohio State stays in this place of prominence.
It's Maurice. It's
I got to say this real quick. Just really quickly on this. I think it's so cool. In African American households, there's a lot of time. I remember, different places where all the people that usually got in trouble were the people that were taking money, that were doing it for ends to a means, right? They're taking care of people back home. You got people that stole laptops, just basic, doing things for survival. I think it's so cool how in America you can change your life in one generation. So now you have a son, and when he goes to college, two, right? Yeah. So when they go to college, they don't have to worry about where am I getting this from. They don't. Maurice can tell them, hey, you don't got to do none of that. I got you. Don't even worry about that. We'll make sure you get a car. We'll make sure that you have a laptop and some of the different things that'll help you stay academically, in contact and on goal and reaching where you want to do. And they don't have that pressure. All they got to do is go be regular students. And I think in the African American community, that's just a rarity. And so it's super cool to see that and understand that they don't have to go what you went through. So that's definitely dope.
Very cool. All right, no fence riders. That's where we're going to start today. Yeah. We're going to definitely dive into Game 2, Guardians-Yankees. We have some numbers for you. I don't know if this game's going to happen. Rain-wise, it doesn't look like it, not today. And Bernie Kosar will join us for the second hour of the program. So, Maurice, you ready to go on no fence riders?
Absolutely.
How many questions do we have, McNuggets?
We have 6. It's always a 6-pack of questions.
Six
we
pack.
have one unanimous one. That is it.
Wow.
First time it's the lowest we've had. And as always, Maurice, we'll start with you. Let's see the first one, Steve. Will the Browns go for it on 4th down more times than they'll punt on Sunday? Maurice, what says you?
They'll punt more.
So no.
That's a no for Maurice.
No.
Yeah.
Let's see how the rest of the panel answered here, Steve. Maurice will be siding with the majority, but Bull, the one who thinks Kevin Stefanski and the Browns will be extra aggressive against that Bill Belichick.
Either that or they just won't need to punt much.
You are aware this wasn't what you would do. It's what the Browns would do.
Well, yeah, that's true. For me, I'd never punt. But I think this. Obviously, I've gone out on a limb and said I'm guaranteeing a Browns victory this week.
Yes.
I feel very good about the Browns this week. I feel very good about their ability to run the football as they've done all year. They've dominated on the ground. And when the Patriots have faced a good run offense this year, they have struggled. And so I don't think they're going to punt very much. We know, my guess is 3 4th down attempts, 2 punts.
Wow, very specific.
Yes.
Wow, that is, yeah.
I just, I hear what you're saying about the matchup. The Patriots' run defense has not been good. That's been where the Browns have buttered their bread. And I know the Lions are small sample size, but after 4 weeks in the NFL, they were the NFL's most explosive offense, and they got nothing against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Nothing. And that sticks in my head.
Yeah, it's a little scary. Also, I do think that for all those, I think they'll have those opportunities. But we've seen a lot of times when we're 2-7, and then what do? Throw the ball 2 times in a row for some reason, and then we've got to punt it. They don't always make the right call when they should be running it twice there.
Listen, the odds are in your favor. I mean, in most games, you punt more than you go for it on 4th down.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think with the fact that Stefanski's pretty aggressive on 4th down in general, and I just have a kind of a hunch that the Browns are going to play extremely well in this game. That's why I went with them.
I love your hunch, man.
Generally played very well.
If it's 4th and 1, if it's 4th and 1 and you got Jacoby Brissett, he's really good at quarterback sneaking.
No doubt.
Go ahead, go for it.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't want to see them go for it in minus territory ever again. I just don't.
I disagree with that if it's 4th and 1.
It's like 40-yard line is kind of like a gray area, right?
Yeah, I mean, between the 40 and the 50, you got to look at the game situationally. Yeah. But if you're going to put something on a card, and this is my approach going into the game, if it's 4th and 1 or more, and you're 60 yards from the end zone, that's a perfect area to try to pin the defense, to pin the offense back inside the 10-yard line.
But the Browns' defense has struggled so much anyway. But if I'm less than 4th, if I'm 4th inside of 4th and 1, I never punt on less than 4th and 1.
No, I know
Never.
you don't.
I
Maurice,
wouldn't.
where are you on this craziness where everybody seems to be going for it? It's like you're playing Madden.
But the thing is, Jay, is the people like you who are against this only bring it up when it doesn't work and never bring it up when it does.
I said many times when the Browns picked it up, it worked out. I still wouldn't have done it.
What say you, Maurice?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, I play the long game. You have to pin them down there in the field when you can use the kicker to kick the ball. I remember we used to have these charts, and it showed how many times or the percentage that a team had if they were in like a certain yard range. And I wouldn't want to keep giving short fields if I struggled, right? And you would like to think that if it was 4th and short, that everybody would be keying on Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb to get the ball. And I just don't know. I'm a punter. I can't explain it as clean as I want to.
That's the Jim Tressel
I
in you.
live by.
Yeah, you got that Tressel.
Yeah.
Jim Tressel loves to punt.
Tressel watches these NFL games the same way I do.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Tressel loved to punt.
Boy.
But he had great defense.
Play the long game.
Yeah. Trust your defense, too.
Yeah.
All right, what's number 2, McNuggets?
Question number 2. Will Nick Chubb outrush the Patriots as a team by himself? Maurice,
Absolutely.
you're up first.
Yeah, absolutely. He's on the roll right now. He's running well, and as a running back, man, when you're running well, you just go into the game with just like supreme confidence, right? And you believe that, and you kind of know what plays are working. You know who's blocking well. You got a feel and a speed for the game, so I don't see him slowing down. And all this stuff just gives you confidence. Like you go out here and you rip off these games like you had. I just think that he's going to perform well and rush for more than their team collectively.
Wow.
Maurice said yes. The panel was a 2-2 split. Let's see the results here. Steve, take the graphic. Bull and G say yes. Polk and Jay say nay.
Yeah.
Why yes, guys?
Well, you know, my prediction or my statement that I said Nick Chubb is better than Emmitt Smith. It looks better every day. I mean, he ain't got the yards yet, but I'm saying Nick Chubb, to me, is the best player in the league right now, bar none. I look at quarterbacks. I look at everywhere around. He's the best part. Look, this guy, and think about it. He's doing that on a pitch count.
Yeah.
17. I would 21 carries would have been beautiful. 17 carries, 134. If he comes out here this week, and I think everybody should come along on the bandwagon. If he comes out here this week and he gets his 150 or whatever the case may be against Bill Belichick, we should get rid of the phrase 8-man boxes or we got to do no.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Nick Chubb is now on that level where it's a LeBron, Kobe, Jordan thing where it's like, oh, yeah, no one says you're going to stop Michael Jordan. That ain't happening. You just hope he miss a few times or hopefully he have a bad night. But as far as shutting him down, nobody shuts Nick Chubb down. If he gets 20 carries, he gets those yards because even if you have a free guy coming, I watched all 22, it doesn't matter. He makes the first guy miss or he runs him over or he stiff arms him.
Yeah.
And that's the point of 9-man box. What's the point of it if the free guy can't tackle him?
Right.
Yeah.
When you say he's the best player in the league, and I'm not arguing, I'm just curious about I want some clarification here. Do you mean if you were to start your own NFL team right now and you could have any player, you only got one player to start with, you would take Nick Chubb above everybody else?
No.
Or is that a different question?
That's more of a philosophical question.
Yeah, how you build a
a
team.
team.
Right,
And
yeah.
but to me,
You're saying at his position, no one is as good.
But not just in his position, he's saying. He's saying he's the best player in the league.
What I'm saying
But he's a better running back than anybody else as a quarterback. Right, yeah. Or whatever else.
You know,
Yeah, so-
apples to apples.
So
Yeah.
and even when they're trying to stop him, right? It just doesn't matter. It's just like, okay, well, we're going to get the ball this way, and we're going to score.
No.
And it's like, to me, that is so valuable because usually, generally speaking, only quarterbacks do that. It's hard to be a transcendent receiver.
Right.
But and when you talk about transcendent quarterbacks, they could just throw the ball. You look up and they have 320 yards. You're like, but we stopped him. We slowed him down.
Yeah.
He still got 320. Nick Chubb is on that level as a running back.
Mike, why did you say that he won't?
Just kind of math. Just math. I mean, you got one guy against an entire team, and you're right. I mean, he's phenomenal. It's fun to watch. I just feel like cumulatively, I think that it'd be pretty embarrassing if their team didn't match up to Nick Chubb.
What's remarkable is the Patriots are a good running team. They're a run-first team. and they only have as a team 97 more rushing yards than Nick Chubb alone.
Right.
Which is remarkable because he's one person.
But he is leading the league in rushing.
He is leading the league, but still, they're a good rushing team.
Now,
they
Harris
have
is
lost
out.
Harris.
Right.
Ramondre Stevenson's a nice runner.
I think he's their guy. I think he's
better than Harris. Yes.
I do too.
I also count on Stefanski to move the ball around a little bit more.
Nick Chubb averaging almost 120 yards per game.
What about you? Why did you?
Well, the reason I said no is because I just know what Bill Belichick's calling card is. You look at the other team. What is it that they do best? How is it they can beat you? And it just jumps off the page at you. Nick Chubb is the best player on the Browns offense.
I know we keep saying this.
And so he's going to put all of his efforts in stopping him and making Jacoby.
I just don't think it's going to work.
I know, that's my question.
It may not.
I've been hearing this about Bill Belichick all week, and I'm sure, the guy's obviously a genius and whatnot in what he does, but are there coaches who don't try to shut down the most potent part of the other team?
No, they all do.
Are there
now
other coaches who are like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should try and
he's
shut
better
down.
at it.
Oh,
he's good at it.
He's got 6 Super Bowl rings.
Yes, he does.
He's better at it.
If you count his 2 as an assistant with the Giants.
But again, if you look at when he's faced good running teams this year, they have not shut it down. They couldn't shut down the Packers running game, and I can't remember who else they beat.
Only so much you can do based on personnel.
Yeah, I just think they're too good. I agree with G. I don't think the Browns running game can be stopped. Like you said, there might be a game or two where Nick Chubb, whatever reason, the offensive line doesn't have it, and maybe it's with this game. I think that's very unlikely. I think the reason to make the argument you guys are is more, well, the Patriots should be able to run really well too because the Browns defense sucks.
Yeah.
But I think the Browns, like the Patriots, know that the Patriots are going to want to run the ball because Bailey Zappe's probably going to play. It's probably not going to be Mac Jones. But even if it is Mac Jones, they want to run the ball.
Sure.
And so, I think it'll be close because I think the Patriots will have a lot of rushing yards too.
All right, Mikey, what's the third one?
All right, time for number 3. Steve, let's take it. Will Myles Garrett have more sacks than NFL sack leader Matthew Judon in this game? Maurice, you're up first.
This kind of goes against the last question. I would say yes. And the only reason I say that is because I think we'll do a lot of running.
So Maurice says yes.
Okay.
Let's see what the panel says, Steve. It is not unanimous because Jay Crawford says no.
Wow, I thought I'd be alone on the yes.
I was almost
on the fence too.
I was on the no. I think I switched it at the last minute.
To me, it has less to do with Garrett and more to do with I don't think the Browns just don't give up sacks.
Yeah, Brissett, for the most part, Brissett has done a good job of throwing the ball and getting it out
think
quick.
Garrett I don't think either's going to have a great game in this game. I know Judon's been great. I got 1 for Myles and 0 for Judon.
Wow.
That's me.
Do the Patriots lead the NFL in sacks?
They're tied for 3rd in sacks. The Eagles have 18. The Patriots have 16, but they lead the league in quarterback pressures and pressure rate.
I knew they led in pressure rate. So, I mean, if they've got 16 in 5 games, you're getting over 3 sacks a game.
Yep.
And those are coming from Judon. He gets home.
Right, but the Browns are only giving up 1 a game.
Just haven't seen it from Myles, guys.
I know, you got to see it first.
If you pulled the Garrett off the back of his jersey and you just watched him, he's a really good player, but
he hasn't made a lot of special plays.
I think his reputation makes all of us think that he's just going to flip a switch and take over any game whenever he wants, but he doesn't do that.
Well, I mean, again, part of it is that he doesn't have a lot of help there, and so he's getting double and triple team probably more than any player in the league. But the facts are he hasn't made a lot of impact plays. That's just a fact.
Hey, it's production. As a defensive end, we always talk about it. There's me playing defensive end. You have what we call: are you in your gap? Are you being technically sound? Are you shedding blocks? Do you do all that other different stuff? And you can get a decent grade doing that, or you could get a horrible grade and you can have 4 sacks, right?
Very disruptive.
Like you can have a horrible game and get 4 sacks. Now the coach will tell you, "Hey man, you really weren't even supposed to be in that gap." Or what are you doing right here? But if you got the production, he said, as long if you're gonna do that, you're gonna go rogue, you better get home because I'm not trying to see you because you got to deal with me then. So right now, it looks like it's just status quo. It's like I'm up here, I'm playing the run, I'm doing the different things, but it's a fine line between doing your job and saying I got to make a play, right? And I will. There's one fair criticism, right? There is a fair criticism of Myles Garrett is this: when the game is on the line, that's why they pay defensive ends that amount of money. Because when the game is on the line, the defensive end can sack somebody, strip them, and then the game's over. We've seen Aaron Donald do it. We've seen
Sounds
TJ Watt,
wonderful.
JJ Watt, because they can end the drive just like that. Linebackers and the rest of the guys don't have that ability. Defensive ends do, and we have not seen that.
No.
All right, number four, Nuggets.
Question number 4. This one was a dead even split. Maurice, your answer will be the determining factor. Is this the game the Browns finally force multiple turnovers? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so.
Maurice says no.
Why not?
With an explanation.
Why not? I just the games I've watched the Browns, it didn't get like the way I felt about the Browns week 1, week 2 defense, and the way I feel about them now are completely different. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing to say.
No, it's a bad thing.
But
Yeah, it's definitely bad.
yeah, it just the games I've watched, man, it just doesn't seem like I guess I was just marketed to, or they marketed them very well to me. And it just seems like an average group of guys. I don't see like these turnover machines and people rushing the quarterback to get the ball out all crazy. These big complex blitz schemes. I just don't see it.
Yeah. They were oversold. They were oversold.
That's it to me. But I bought into it.
Yeah, I did too. But as you can see by my answers, I'm selling everything now. All right, what's the group say?
Maurice said no, and that means he is taking the side of the fence with everybody except Adam the Bull.
Again.
Wow. Adam is like Mr.
Super positive right now.
Adam's waving
With my
the
angry
Browns
face on the
banner.
picture. Yeah, it's a weird position that I've been in the last 2 weeks. It's very unusual.
You all right?
Here I am. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I hit my head or something. Turnovers, part of it's aggressiveness by the defense, right? Which the Browns don't play.
I think a lot of it is aggressiveness.
But some of it's just
Yes.
pure luck.
Well, but here's why I say that.
Yeah.
When you're aggressive, you're putting pressure on the defense.
True.
And when you put pressure on the defense, you force them to make mistakes.
Right.
We're not getting interceptions
not.
because we don't blitz.
However, they have a rookie quarterback who's
Doesn't
playing
matter.
his second game.
Maybe.
Whose name is Bailey.
His name is
I think that's
Bailey.
important
How
to
can you
mention.
trust a man named Bailey?
Bailey.
Well, I mean, it could be
Bailey
Mac Jones.
Zappe. Yeah.
I mean,
It could be, but I think Bailey is going to play.
Mac Jones put 41 on us last year, and he was
I
a
hear
rookie.
you. I know.
That's true.
Fine. That doesn't mean basically, I'm just saying I think they're going to get lucky, is what I'm saying. It's basically,
or you're just super positive and you're just going to take the yes.
yes.
Okay.
By the way, one other thing I mentioned it yesterday, I want to mention it again because usually I don't care about uniforms, but I love those Patriot
Yeah,
uniforms.
they're sharp.
Yeah,
They are
really
so
are.
The
sweet.
red ones, I
Yeah.
like those. Dang.
Those were the old Steve Grogan unis.
Love 'em.
Way back in the day. I said no just because they haven't done it.
No.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
There's no reason to believe
They're
they will.
not
really.
forcing turnovers. And a lot of people, the number one biggest telltale stat in all of football, everybody say, well, if you rush for 300 yards, if you rush for 100 yards, if you throw for 300 yards, if you win the turnover battle, you're going to win the game the vast majority of the time.
That's true.
This football, the NFL today, is predicated on not making mistakes with the football while you force your opponent to make mistakes. It's plain and simple. Go look at the end of the year, every year for the last 15. Look at the plus-minus ratios. Just look at that. And that will tell you likely who won the Super Bowl, or at least who made it to the Super Bowl, who made the playoffs, and who did not. I believe that you force turnovers by being aggressive.
Yes.
And this defense, actually, this is true. I heard this as a rumor, but I looked into it, and I got the videotape. We can show it later. I looked into it. The Browns' defense actually runs over to the other end of the field when the other team's offense is going to come out, and they roll out a red carpet for them and they cheer for them.
Oh,
as
is
they
that
come on the
right?
field.
So,
Yeah.
statistically.
Which is stunning. I heard that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way they do
Yeah.
that. But now I saw
I think it sends a bad message.
I think it is. I think it's a little too hospitable.
do, yeah.
We're too nice. I keep saying it. We need more dogs.
Browns have a 0
Yes.
turnover differential.
0. There you go.
Four
But that's
turnovers,
actually
four
could be
takeaways.
worse.
And where does that rate in the league?
It's right in the middle.
And where are we in the league?
I'm going to say this, and this is
Who's got the best record?
Philadelphia is +9.
There you go.
I've given this to everybody I see. I talked to Tyvis. I said, I love your breakdowns, Tyvis. I love you, dog. But you keep telling me we gonna get it fixed.
Yeah.
Listen, you
1,000% get it fixed.
Yeah, you guys are not buying it at all. What about Maurice? Maurice,
they're
Can I
not
say- I wanna say
they
something.
aren't. The Browns aren't good at anything on defense. You can't give me
that's fair.
one thing.
That is absolutely
one.
fair.
Give me one
Let me see.
thing that they excel at.
Maurice?
Hey, let Maurice get in.
Yeah, no. So I heard Jay say something. This is football in general. If you don't have nasty guys, you need some of the nastiest, ignorant, brutal, nasty people. I'm telling you. I ran a football, but I was nasty. Like you have to have nasty people on your team, disrespectful, grungy people, blue collar people. I'm telling you,
He's right. He's absolutely right.
I'm telling. I'll say this, right. The reason that Ohio State struggles in the playoffs, and I'm saying this this has nothing to do with the Browns right now, because they don't have these guys who I've seen in the SEC who grow up in the country, who grow up nasty, who come in the facility, grungy, nasty, dirty, and that love to play the game, right?
Yep.
That is the big difference between the SEC and Big Ten football. It's too cute, it's too nice. The reason that Ohio State won a championship back with Cordell Jones was because Cordell was nasty. And when he's running over defensive backs as your quarterback, you instill that in your team. The Browns don't have anybody who's nasty. Everybody's cute and pretty, and they make a lot of money, and they're good players, and they look well. But you need like disrespectful, nasty, grungy people.
James Harrison.
That's just James Harrison, nasty.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If you go look back at just go look at the Rams. But if you go look at the Rams and what they were doing and how they were doing it, that's just what it is, man. You just need those type of people.
Great point.
I agree with
It's
it.
a
We've
really
touched
good
on it a
point.
time or two. I sent
They're
that
missing those guys.
Twitter video where the coach is saying we need more dogs. We need more dogs. And the Browns need more dogs.
They just don't have that in them right now. They don't have that fight right now.
No, they
Seems
don't.
like.
They do on offense.
Yeah.
Well,
they
Nick
nasty.
Chubb, and I say this all the time.
Right.
If you can give me 11 Nick Chubbs on defense, you're winning a Super
Their
Bowl
offensive
every
line,
year.
they got some dogs
Because
there,
Nick
too.
Chubb is
Yeah.
nasty, Maurice.
Yeah.
He runs.
Yeah, he's just quiet.
Yeah.
He's
just
quiet,
quiet.
nasty.
Kareem Hunt, too, is
Yeah.
nasty. I mean, but on defense, no, I can't name one guy I think of, he's nasty.
Right.
No.
Maurice, you got someone at your front door, bro. Your ring is going nuts.
Oh, you can hear that? Oh, let me turn it off.
Is Tinkerbell in your room?
Someone wants in, man. Someone wants in.
So, no, so
We got two more questions here, Maurice.
All right, yeah.
The
I
next
heard it in
one.
my ear. I didn't realize y'all could hear it.
Yeah, that's all
Hey, no
good.
worries. You just had a baby boy. We'll let it
Yeah,
slide,
let's
Maurice.
go.
Will the Browns have 3 players with at least 50 receiving yards on Sunday, Maurice?
This would contradict my statement about Nick Chubb. So just to stay true to form, I'm going to say no, because I hope the majority of the carries go to Nick Chubb and he does real well, and we don't have to throw the ball that much. That's what I'm hoping.
Maurice says no because they will run the ball a lot. The panel says this. Once
Get
again,
him alone.
Jiminy
it's
Chris.
the Bull of the Island of Bull.
Bull is just, he's like Mr. Cleveland Browns.
50 yards is not a ton of yardage.
No, but
You
for
wouldn't
3
think
of them,
so.
They haven't done that this year, have they?
They did it last week.
They did.
Yeah, it was
One time.
Is that the only time?
It is
Yeah.
the only time.
Oh,
they did
yeah.
it, yes.
They-
I
didn't do
would
it
have
against the
suggested
Steelers?
no. They haven't done it at all.
I thought they did against
Yeah,
Steelers.
it's the 3 times.
It's the 3 thing.
It's the 3
I
you
got
know?
to tell you, obviously Amari Cooper's been really good.
Sure. I
David
think he'll get
Njoku
there.
we expected a lot with the
Yeah,
contract he
he'll
got,
get there.
and for the most
Well,
part,
if it's going to happen, it's going to be DPJ,
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, and Njoku.
Njoku.
Those are the 3 that are going to get.
Yeah,
Bell
I-
isn't going to have it.
I think it's possible Kareem Hunt could get
Schwartz
Hunt.
isn't going to have it. Did
Look
you
at
guys
that. I
see
mean,
the video
Schwartz-
yesterday of Anthony Schwartz at practice?
Even the one I sent you.
By the way, David
Did you-
Njoku
yeah,
on pace
yes.
for about 1,000 yards.
He couldn't get through the blocking dummy.
I said that before the season.
Yeah, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is on pace for like 750 yards. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but the idea of three of those coming together at the same
Oh,
time.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to have a monster game individually. I think like Cooper's going to have 68 yards, and Njoku's going to have 62 yards, and DPJ's going to have like 55. I think they'll all between 50 and
Okay.
70.
You know it was hurting the Browns right now. And you saw, I looked at Kareem Hunt's numbers down there, 83 yards through receiving, right?
Yeah, they didn't get him the
and
ball.
we
That's
thought,
that's atrocious.
you know why? They didn't shut Stefanski's screen game all the way down. I remember the first 2 years Stefanski would scheme up these screens, and they would be chunk plays. I mean, these are touchdown, long plays, because then you would get Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb out in the secondary, and they couldn't tackle them. But this year, no, it just seems like, I don't know if whether it's the alignment or they're doing something schematically wise that people are picking out on film. Yeah. Because now defensive linemen are just standing right by the backs. How many times do you think they had to just throw the ball on the ground because there's guys next to it?
I think they need to throw Kareem Hunt the ball down the field a little bit, and I think he'd be effective. And I also think we've all harped on a lot. I think with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on the field together, that will get Kareem Hunt open too in the passing game.
That is my biggest pet peeve. My pet peeve on defense is we don't put pressure, we don't blitz. On offense, and Maurice, please explain this to me. Why are we all so stupid and Kevin Stefanski is just so much smarter than everybody? Why is it that we see Chubb and Hunt on the field maybe 1 or 2 plays a game?
And it works.
And when they have them on the field at the same time, the play always works. Why is he not doing that more?
He's going to say that my third wide receiver is better than my second running back. That's the argument he's going to make.
That's bad.
That's what he's going. That's what he's going to say.
Do you agree with that?
Everybody, no, not at all. I think you create, like, football is matchups, and I said this since I've been on the show. It's what everybody knows. You put Kareem Hunt on their weak side linebacker. You put Nick Chubb on their weak side linebacker. You catch the ball in space, and you have drives and you have big plays. And you have guys who can catch it for 7 and carry it for 20. But there's a lot of people, believe it or not, philosophically, they want to play the game a little bit faster. They want to score faster. And that becomes their philosophy. They want to throw the ball downfield. But I have no clue as to why you don't put both of these guys on the field. You can dictate the defense that people have to play. And then you can shuffle around your receivers to do crossing patterns, and you can overflood zones to cause matchup problems. There's so much more you can do when you have 2 great running backs. Just think about this, right? Never in a million years do people line up and say, hey, man, I have to really be worried about the 2 guys in the backfield. You don't have a lot of defensive sets for that, right? And, G, to your question about the screen packages, there's only certain formations that a lot of guys run screen packages out of, right? So I'm pretty sure that most of these teams, they win the offseason. I'm telling you, if you go to these film rooms are super detailed, broke down. They will tell you the amount of times that things were ran. They will tell you the formations they were ran out of. So I'm pretty sure whenever they have like these indicators of Kareem Hunt being on the field with Nick Chubbs and they're in a 3-by-1 set and he's offset or whatever it may be, they probably schemed up that 80% of the time he's going for a screen. So I'm pretty sure there's a Mike linebacker sitting in the middle of the field like, hey, Kareem, it's a 3-by-1. I'm telling you, these guys are super intelligent. In the film and what you can study to understand what's in front of you is pretty detailed. But like I said, back to what I said, football is about matchups. You need both of those guys on the field, and you need to build packages from that, right? But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the coach, obviously. But all I know, it's very hard for linebackers to watch these guys and to tackle these guys. It would be even harder as the game went on to tackle these guys. Right. And I didn't get it in now, but I do want to say this before we go off. The reason that Nick Chubb has a bunch of success is because he's a sound player, right? He runs with a bunch of integrity. And what that means is if he's running outside zone or inside zone, he runs real hard, he sticks to his track. And over time, G, to your point, if you get 20 carries, the defense usually breaks their infrastructure before the offense, right? And so guys out of position, guys can't tackle, and that's how he breaks these long runs. And so you have to feed him the ball enough and hoping that your offensive line does their job enough that he catches a crease here and there. But if you get ahead of yourself or if you're down 14 points or whatever it may be, or if you're in a scenario that you can't actually exercise that becomes a problem. So I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to say.
No, but that's smart, but that's why you have to keep feeding him. If you have that game, and it's going to happen, Bull, I know that you say he's unstoppable. No player's unstoppable. It's going to happen this year where he's got 6 carries for 19 yards. The worst thing you can do at that point is just abandon it and go away from it. What do shooters do in the NBA when they miss their first couple
I'm not going away from
shooters
it.
Shoot.
Right.
But we've seen in the past where it's 6 carries for 19 yards, then you're like, I don't see Nick Chubb. Where is he? He disappears. Yeah. Stay with him because you're absolutely right, Maurice. It's like rolling dice. He is so good at doing what he's supposed to do and hitting the lane he's supposed to hit. A lot of times, a guy gets him by a shoestring, and it changes whether or not it's a 2-yard gain or a 40-yard gain. Mm-hmm. Keep feeding that beast. Eventually, he's gonna win.
Always.
He's gonna win.
Yeah.
What's the last one?
Last
Nuggets?
one.
Last question. Yes, sir. Cade York has missed a kick in each of his last 3 games. So the question is, will he make all of his kicks versus the Patriots? Maurice, you're up first.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I've been around enough special team guys, and they always look to right their wrongs. No difference than a running back who fumbles or a quarterback who throws interception. In order for you to mentally get back into the game, you want to kick a perfect game. So you have to hope and believe that the next game will be his perfect game. So I'm hoping that this game is his perfect game and he makes them all.
Maurice says yes. We promised one unanimous answer. We have not seen it yet, which means everybody agrees.
Wow.
Maurice, which means we have officially jinxed.
Cade York.
Yep. Sorry, Cade.
I'll blame you guys because I've been on that side of the fence all day.
Yeah,
so.
I knew Bull was going to say yes, just because if you asked right now, are the Browns going to beat the Patriots 150-0, Bull would be
No,
a
I'm
yes.
saying no on that one. You've hit my limit there.
I'm glad to see that you have faith in the
Yeah.
kicker still. Yeah, it's going to take more than a couple of misses for me to jump off the Cade York
Yeah.
bandwagon.
I feel like you are approaching this Browns game the way that the Browns approached David Njoku's contract in the last season. It
Yes.
was based on what they haven't seen yet.
Correct.
But what they expect to see.
You are 100%
All right,
accurate.
that's what I feel like
Yes.
you're doing.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, well, I think we settled everything, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think so. We solved all the world's problems. We
Well-
need to blitz more, and
Yeah.
we need more dogs on defense. That's
And
for
good
sure.
luck getting some sleep, Maurice. Good
Yeah,
luck.
luck,
catch up
Maurice.
on that sleep, Maurice. And Maurice, congratulations, man. I'm
Yeah,
super
congrats.
happy for you, and I
Thank
know
you.
all our viewers are as well.
See you later, buddy.
Great,
job, man.
Maurice,
All right.
Claret.
Thanks, Maurice.
Wouldn't it be funny if 18 years from now, Maurice Claret's son is running for touchdowns at the shoe?
Why
the
don't-
Ohio State University?
Why don't we give him one of those deals right now? Can we give him a pre-deal, like a pre-college deal
An
here
NIL
through
deal.
the show?
Yes.
Sure.
So we do like an
Yes.
NIL deal,
That's a good
like
idea.
a pre-NIL deal now. We'll get like an advertisement with him holding like something like that. We'll send some Pampers over that way, and that's his payment. I think that's fair.
It'll be the only NIL deal that includes
That's our baby
Pampers.
spokesperson.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, Pampers is
Applesauce.
expensive.
Yep.
It makes my heart smile to see where Maurice is today. I first met him I knew him when he was playing, but I first really met him when he was incarcerated and he
Yeah.
was getting ready to start a new life. And he was full of optimism. He read everything he could get his hands on when he was in prison. And it makes me so happy to see him being successful, being not just an involved father, but you guys could see it.
Yeah.
He's just really turned things around, and nothing makes me happier because he's a good person and he deserves all the good things to happen.
Prison sounds terrible, but I think that structure does sound kind of nice sometimes. Just as far as I don't want to go by any means, but all the reading and writing you probably
Yeah.
get done. You have no choice but to be
Weightlifting?
there alone. I'd be in
Yeah.
At
great
least on
shape.
TV, that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't
Go
want
out
to
the yard, pump some iron.
I'm just
Hey,
saying.
man.
Hope to not get shivved. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jail, it's not a vacation.
No, it's not easy.
I don't want the structure of jail. I'll pass on
I'm
that.
cool on that. I'm gonna just hang out.
Maybe like a corporate workshop or
That's
something.
quote board material, though.
Yeah.
I kind of like the structure of prison. Like,
Sounds all right.
Maybe you should join the military now.
Yeah, I think it's a little late on that. Well, I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe. Who
If you
knows?
lived in Russia, you.
Mike,
But you got bone spurs in your foot.
Yeah, that's right.
Real quick, we're going to pivot to the Guardians real quick. Bernie Kosar is supposed to come in. However, he did just tweet a video himself on a tractor saying, just finishing up another morning harvest. So hopefully
No.
that is not a current video.
I don't
And,
think it. I don't think it is.
Bernie is everywhere. You
he
see
texted
videos from
me-
him in all these different places.
Listen,
it's amazing.
he is a Renaissance dude.
he
Trust
was
me.
making sure that wasn't a
At
live tweet.
11:22, he texted me and said 25 minutes.
All right.
Okay, good.
So now that would be 11:47. So he's got 3 minutes and 40 seconds from right now to text.
So he's got plenty of time.
Well, if
Bring
that's
him
a
on.
full
Not on a
25
harvest.
minutes, he might be he might not be here till 4,
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
you know.
Someone
I just
said
wanted to
on
make
the
sure
morning
he's not
call.
on a tractor.
No,
currently
not
and
currently,
tweeting
hopefully.
that, so.
No, if he is, we're in trouble. we're going until 2 o'clock today, if that's the case.
But let's talk a little Guardians. Game 2 tonight. Hopefully.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
game
like
gets
it's going to
played.
happen. I just got a couple of points, Bull, and then I'm going to listen to what you have to say about them. The guards.
Before you start, tell me what the difference is. I mean, I know the Bieber pitching thing's the big problem if he doesn't. That's the big deal about why we want to play tonight, right?
Well,
Yes.
And explain that to people who might not
Okay.
understand.
Well, because if they play tonight, then they have a day where they are off Friday.
Right.
They travel here for the games Saturday and Sunday.
And then,
If he pitches tonight,
right, he can't.
he could theoretically come back on short rest and pitch in Game 5 if needed. If Game 2 doesn't happen until tomorrow, then he's not going to be available for a
right.
Game 5.
And that might not matter because they might not want to use him on 3 days rest anyway, but you'd like to at least have that option.
Yeah.
At the very least, maybe even if he doesn't start, maybe you could bring him in for an inning or two in that Game 5, which you're less likely to do.
That's an all-hands-on-deck game.
Yeah.
He would definitely be available for an inning or two if needed.
Yes.
Guys, this to me, this is why it don't matter. It don't matter because I think the Yankees are good for 2 to 3 home runs a game. I just think they're good for it. If you watch the last game with the Yankees,
they hit 1.5 per game in the regular season, a little more than 1.5.
They weren't killing the ball. There was a couple pitches where they got what they needed and they hit home runs, and those home runs got them 4 runs. Now the best part of the Guardians team is the bullpen, and if you can't get to the bullpen with a lead, it don't matter.
Yeah.
All right, I think, go ahead, Jay. You wanted to make a point.
Well, I just got a couple of things, and I wanted your reaction to them. I looked at the splits, and I knew what they were. I knew they weren't great.
Yeah.
But here's my big fear for tonight. If the Guardians are going to win, it's going to be a very low-scoring game, and Bieber's going to go at least 7 and keep them in the game. What scares me is, even if he pitches great, would be 7 innings, no runs, or 1 run. That's great. Anything outside of that is, depending on how much it is, good, below average, whatever.
Right.
Great is 7 innings and 1 run or less. Let's say he does that. That means the Guardians have to do something that they haven't done this entire series, right? This entire postseason, 33 innings. They have not built a single run. And that's their bread and butter. And their splits against lefties. Mike, I was going to ask you to build a graphic for that. It gets kind of complicated, but they're just not. They don't do as well against lefties as they do against righties. And Cortes is pitching probably, would you say he's pitching better now than at any point in his career?
Definitely.
I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's.
And so what scares me is if Cortes also pitches great, that would mean it's 1-0 or 1-1 going into the 8th and 9th. I don't know. I like our bullpen better than I like the Yankees bullpen, but that has to happen if the Guardians are going to win.
So listen, we're all getting into this mind frame that a lot of fans get into when they play the Yankees. We get into this panic of the Yankee mystique.
I'm not panicking.
And they're maybe
I'm concerned.
I think a lot of fans are panicking. I agree. You're not
I'm
panicking.
definitely not panicking.
The Guardians offensively have been terrible in the playoffs. And we have seen them at times this year be terrible offensively. They have gone through stretches. They're going through one now. If that doesn't end immediately, they're going home soon.
Yep.
However, I just don't buy that this Yankee team is that much better than the Guardians. In fact, I don't think they're better at all. From top to bottom, I believe these teams are fairly even. Obviously, the Yankees have the big power edge. The Guardians have the big bullpen edge. But as you guys said, if the Guardians can't score, then they can't take advantage of that bullpen edge.
Right.
And they haven't scored so far. It's a small sample size. Nestor Cortes is good. They have struggled against lefties. Okay, all fair. But in the end, I'm not going to get in this frame of mind of they got a big payroll and we can't win and we got no chance. Yesterday in your final take, you said you don't think the Guardians can win the World Series. Now, they may not, but I don't believe that they can. I do believe that they can.
I think they have a chance.
Yes.
I'm just saying if someone said put a pile of money in the middle of that table and split it amongst the 8 teams that are left.
I wouldn't put them last.
No, I wouldn't put them last, but they would have a very small share of that money.
They would.
I'm going big Dodgers. I'm going big Astros. I'm going big Yankees.
Yeah, I wouldn't go big Yankees. Astros and Dodgers, I agree with you.
I want to go back to your point that you don't think that they're a better team.
I just don't.
I'll just roll out why they are.
Okay.
162 games is the largest sample size we have in any sports season.
Correct.
They play in a much more difficult division than the Guardians do. The Guardians get fat every year on their 19 games against the Tigers, the Royals, and even this year to some extent the Twins and the White Sox.
Yes.
That's half of your schedule. Okay.
Agreed.
The Yankees, while we're playing those 4 teams, are playing the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, teams that are much, much better. The Red Sox, So I just think that.
Well, the Orioles and Red Sox aren't very good this year.
But they were.
The Blue Jays.
Listen, They were the White Sox and the Twins.
Right. The Red Sox and Orioles are equivalent to the White Sox and Twins.
They don't have a Royals and a Tigers.
No, they don't. But here's the thing. If you ask me who's the better team from April 1st through now, I'll say the Yankees.
Yeah.
If you ask me who's the better team
August
from the
1st.
All-Star break till now,
Yeah, no question.
I'll say it's neck and neck.
Right.
And I believe that. And part of it is the Yankees haven't played well, but part of it is the Guardians have a million young players who have gotten better and more confident. Now, it might not pan out this year.
Yeah.
It might not. And ultimately, the Yankees might win the series, and and a lot of people will go, we can't compete and this and that. And I don't blame you when the season's over for being mad about the payroll. I'm going to be mad about the payroll when the season's over, too. But this is a hell of a good young team. They're going to be a contender for a long time, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I think just because they're strong, these series change in a hurry. One big
Look at the
offensive
Padres,
game.
Dodgers.
Exactly. One big offensive game today, and all of a sudden they go home 1-1 with McKenzie on the mound. We're all going to feel a lot different.
Home field advantage.
Well,
Yes, and home field advantage,
I don't
yeah.
think it comes down to who's a better team. I just think it comes down to the matchup. And the Yankees have a more room for error, right? When you hit home runs, it covers a lot of your stuff up, right? And so when you look at the lineup for the Guardians, you got 2 automatic outs. Hedges and Straw.
And that's killing them.
Hedges and Straw is
It's
2
killing.
automatic outs. And then Naylor struggles so much against left-hand pitchers. He's one of your guys you counting on, but he doesn't
So you
swing the bat
essentially
well.
got 2/3 of a lineup
So
tonight.
now you looking at Quan and Ramirez and Gonzalez. And Gonzalez, besides the home run in the Rays series, he didn't have really
Well,
good.
nobody's hit much. Again, it's not like the Yankees got a million guys killing. They played one playoff game here.
Yeah.
They've got.
Yeah.
It's not like they're.
Jimenez has to be better.
Yes, agreed. The bottom of the Yankees lineup is not that great. It's better than the Guardians, certainly.
Yeah.
And yes, there is an avenue of margin for error because they're more likely to hit more home runs. However, if we do get into a game where it does get into the bullpens, then the Yankees have less margin for error because they don't have reliable
agree.
bullpenners.
How many runs do you think? What's the run amount that you think the Guardians got to get to be in contention to win this game? Were you
4.
4?
How much of
Yeah,
this?
I think if they score 4 runs,
They score 4,
the
they'll
game.
win the game.
How much of this do you guys think is psychological? This is the youngest team in the league. They played in front of an average crowd of under 16,000 all year long, and now they find themselves in Yankee Stadium, surrounded by what?
It's a factor.
70,000
It's
people.
easy to say
You can't say
that
it's not a factor.
factored in.
You
I
can't
think
say
it
it's not a
is.
fa- These are kids.
But it's not overwhelming. I don't think
will
they're
say-
sitting there going, "Oh my God, what are we
I
gonna
will
do?"
say that last night for my podcast today, I spoke with Zach Meisel. We talked for I did a 30-minute interview with him. He was gracious enough to give me a lot of time. And he knows the players as well as anybody because he's in that locker room every day. He's in New York right now. And he said, yeah, obviously they made some mistakes in that game. He does not think they're feeling overwhelmed.
I don't think they are either.
At all.
And I think that's because of Tito.
And
Yeah.
that's because of
Right.
Tito and Jose.
Tito's comments yesterday, I was already not panicked. But
Yeah.
when I heard Tito talk yesterday, I felt even better.
And this team believes in itself.
I believe that.
They
but there's
really
a difference
do.
between being panicked and
Yes.
just also accepting
Sure.
reality. I'm
Absolutely.
in
Look,
this
is the
situation. You
moment-
can't pretend
can the
like you're
moment
not in this
be too big
situation.
for them?
So
Yeah.
even if they're not totally freaking out and they're not, I'm not saying they're up there like, oh, I've never been in.
Right,
you know,
right.
but I think in the back of your mind, you still know. this
Sure.
That's why it's a
There's
factor.
no doubt.
So,
There's
hey,
no doubt it's a
Mikey,
factor.
do we have that clip that I talked about?
Of Karen Check?
Yeah, before you show it, let me set it up. So everybody knows that Karen Check's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde guy. Had a lot of success early last year. Then the spin rate scandal came out, and
He
they
fell
figured
apart.
out that all the players were using the illegal substance
goo.
to get more
Right.
grip, to get more RPMs on the ball. And obviously, the more RPMs you have, the more you can move the baseball, the harder it is to hit. Everybody's numbers kind of came up after they cracked down on the illegal substance. And now, of course, if you watch any baseball at all, you see as the pitcher comes off the mound, the umpire does this right here.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody's, but a lot. And his
mostly,
completely
yeah.
fell apart.
Yeah. like,
Mostly
he's like-
everybody is being checked. Now, it doesn't
Yeah.
happen every inning, but
Yeah.
the vast majority of innings,
Right.
the vast majority of pitchers, as they're walking to the dugout, you'll see them take off their glove and they'll
Yeah.
come to the umpire.
Yep.
Umpire will touch, and they'll say, okay, you're good. Karen Check earlier this year had his hair patted down. An umpire wanted to see what was in his hair because
Yeah.
when he was up and had a lot of success early, he had short hair.
Right.
If you notice when he pitched, he's constantly going like this.
I just think he's a wacky guy.
Well, there was a guy on Twitter that had this conspiracy theory that he's absolutely cheating.
Got that
And
gel.
that he's putting that substance in his hair. And if we can, let's roll it. There's no sound.
There's no sound, but you
but
can
I'll
still see
narrate.
what he's talking
I'll tell you what he's saying. So he's like, this guy's a cheater. So here's Karinchak before he was, after he came back from the minor leagues. So they're showing him going to his hair nonstop. And he also goes to the rosin bag. He didn't point that out, but he typically will go to the rosin bag and his hair. There he is, and he's clearly grabbing his hair, and it looks like he could be getting something off of it.
Right.
This is Karinchak before he was sent down to the minors and started to struggle. And he correctly pointed out he's clearly grabbing a substance off his glove. As someone who's used an illegal substance, I've always put it in my glove. It's easy to grab. No one can see it. A lot of times I would do it as I was looking in for the sign. I would just grab a little bit on my 2 fingers and then grip the ball. So he's saying now that he's clearly using it and he's cheating and this is crazy and it's got to be stopped. I just want to take a second and say, I'm not going to completely defend Karinchak and say he is not cheating. I can't say that. I don't know. Here's what I absolutely can say and know from experience. When you're pitching and you always want more grip, you always want as much grip as you can with your index and your middle finger. I think what he's doing is he's grabbing sweat, and I think that's why he's grown his hair out. So and if you watch him closely when he pitches again, he goes to the rosin bag a lot. He's getting the rosin on his fingers, which I use, whether it's cold or hot, I use it. Then he's going to his hair to get moisture, and it gives the rosin a little bit of tack. It is not illegal. It is not illegal.
Right.
And especially if it has product in his hair.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to address. A lot of guys will put a lot of product in their hair when they pitch, with the reason being they know that not every pitch, but if you need it, you can go up there, you can get it, or you can take your hat off, do this number right here, get a little bit on your finger. That is not illegal.
I always feel like pitchers are always trying something.
And so are hitters.
And hitters. I can't worry about. I mean, the Astros thing was egregious to another
level.
level.
That was over the top because it was systemic.
It was a bit much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
here's the
where do you draw the line?
I don't really care.
What I hope happens is if he pitches an inning and pitches really well, I hope Aaron Boone comes out of the dugout and goes up to the umpire and says, I want his hair checked. I want his belt checked. I want his glove checked.
Get the one.
Because you know what? At that point, here's what that means. He's living rent-free.
Well,
in the
that's what we
Yankees'
saw
heads.
with
Well, how about the
Musgrove
Mets
and the
game?
Mets.
100%.
Yeah.
100%
Checking his
with
ears.
Musgrove. Exactly. And when you get to that point, because I've been in dugouts where you think the other guy's cheating and it becomes like wildfire and it's consuming the entire energy of the dugout. You've won at that point.
Are there limits on product that you can put in your hair though?
No.
Like I can put whatever I want there. Like,
no, if you came out and
I like to use model plain
who's
glue.
the hitter? Who's the hitter for is it the Braves or the Phillies that has the long, it looks like he's got motor oil in his hair.
A retired player?
No, he's playing now. He played yesterday in the playoff game.
Why can't I think of it?
It's just, it's
Phillies?
super long and it looks like there's motor oil in it.
I tell you what, man.
Now he's a hitter. But
Brandon Marsh?
it might be Marsh. Yeah, it might be Marsh.
I think it's Brandon Marsh.
It's really, really.
It's the center fielder. It's Marsh.
It's greasy.
Yes.
It looks like it's wet with oil.
Yes.
If you wanted,
I don't know that question. The answer to that question.
if you
though,
wanted
Mike.
the great grip, get you a can of Murray's. It's a lifetime supply of Murray's, which is just only one can. You get that Murray's, you throw a ball through a wall, bro.
Well, here's the thing. Most of it has a scent. It has an odor.
Right.
I still do. I take a little bit of pine tar that I use for my bat.
Yeah.
And I take the stick and I rub it in my glove. And I don't rub it where I catch the ball. I rub it on my thumb on the high side, and it's there if I need it. Sometimes in the 5th inning, I'll put a little bit more there. I don't use it every pitch. If I really want a curveball to move a lot, I'll grab just a little bit. And the way you can get away with it is when I hit, I'm getting pine tar on my hands anyhow.
Right, that's right.
So if an umpire,
Have you used a nail file?
I've never done that. I've never done that.
Is that Phil Necro?
The Phil Necro pulled his pocket out came the emery board. It was fantastic. No, a lot of guys do it.
Yeah.
Hitters know that when it's really cold, pitchers are doing something because there's no humidity, there's no moisture in the air,
Right, yeah.
and it's hard to get that grip. I don't think Karinchak is cheating. I think at this point he is getting sweat or product from his hair. But until Major League Baseball tells him he can't do that, he's not breaking any rules.
I have a picture of Phil Niekro when he was pitching with the Indians here, and he looked like he was 75 years old.
He really did.
He went gray early.
Yeah.
He pitched till he was like mid-40s.
Yeah,
But
right.
he looked like just a standard middle-aged dad is on the mound.
I know. Whereas Julio
you can find
Franco,
a picture of Phil Niekro with the Indians.
whereas Julio Franco played till he was almost 50, and he looked like he was in his 30s still.
Yep.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And then we found out later he was really 72. Like he was also lying.
They lied on his age when he came up. So
Even older.
yeah, I think he played till he was 47. But Phil Niekro, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
looked,
amazing.
He
Oh, my
looked like
God.
someone's
He
grandfather.
did.
Yeah.
He looked. Yeah.
And he threw a knuckleball, which isn't, it doesn't strain your arm, and so
Right.
you can stick
True.
around a lot longer than if you're throwing
Didn't
gas.
Satchel Paige come in the league? He was already 50.
Oh, Satchel Paige pitched well. I think it was well into his
Yeah.
50s, if I'm not mistaken.
He was in Negro leagues for 20 years.
He did a
and-
gimmick start with somebody, and I think he wanted to pitch in like 5 different decades. So
Yeah.
they signed him late in his
They'd bring
career.
him- yeah.
I think, if my memory is correct on
Well,
that.
Satchel Paige used to pitch in the Negro Leagues. He would pitch like a doubleheader.
That's crazy.
Bernie's here. It's
Pitch
noon.
both games.
He's here?
Yeah.
Earl, you want to go run upstairs and get Bernie?
So Bernie's in the building, and we're gonna go get him.
Yeah.
So while we do that, Earl's gonna go run upstairs and get Bernie.
Okay.
We're gonna bring him down. We're gonna mic him up. You want to do
Oh, he
little
already
60
came with the
seconds here
security guard.
Here's Bernie. He's right
Yeah.
here.
He's
Just
James
somebody's
brought
gotta
him
come
down.
let
Our
him in the
security
door
guard's
right
got
now.
him.
I got it.
I mean, he got security.
Anthony's got him.
going
We're gonna
with-
play 60 seconds with Jetty Osmond.
Jetty.
Are you sure? Because
We'll have
Bernie's
Bernie.
in the building right now.
Hey.
What up, Bernie?
Hey.
Come on.
Great to see you.
I liked him.
Come on in, Bernie.
Yeah,
Them,
fresh
is,
blood.
them is crazy right there. What are those?
Bernie's close game is on
Hey,
point.
and by the way, my man, you always got to leave the StockX tag on. That's for Tyvus that
Yeah.
was hating. You got to leave it on. They know it's for real.
That's how you know he's authentic.
Yeah, that's authentic right
He's got
there.
it right
Yes,
there.
sir.
I could play hoops. I could go on shows today. I'm multitasking.
You look like you're 22 right now, bro. You look great. You look great.
Bernie, I feel like you're all over the place. I see all these videos you put out. You love getting around. You're having a ball.
Hey, Bull, he doesn't have a mic yet. Hold on. Let him get
Yeah.
the
He's
mic on
mic'd
before
up.
he asks questions.
He's mic'd up.
He's got his mic on. He's good.
Never mind.
Doing a little tractor
Thanks,
action
Austin.
this morning. Is that what we saw?
Yes, we are harvesting. I know we probably want to talk a little Guardians baseball.
No, we're all
wanna
about the
talk
gardening.
everything.
All about the
Are you
gardening.
into
a little
baseball?
bit. A little bit. Oh, heck
Yeah.
yeah. Heck yeah.
Oh, Bernie,
Or
hey,
do we
listen,
want to
when-
talk
this is a
Browns?
true
But
story.
Absolutely, though, harvesting today.
Yeah.
Tell the guys the story of Rajai Davis's home run. And I don't know if this is still true, but Bernie told me we were watching the game together.
Yeah.
At the stadium, and as soon as the ball went over the fence, Bernie, my son Corey, and myself were in a threesome, jumping up and down, hopping until he crossed home plate. And Bernie said after the game, even though it ended in defeat, he said, I've been played sports my whole life. I've been going to games my whole life. I don't know that I've ever had a moment that was that exhilarating, even as a player, which I was like, wow.
Yeah,
That
you
is
know what?
amazing.
When you're a player, you kind of get caught up in the moment of maybe making sure that it materialized right. When you're a fan like that night, that was a special night. And tonight we're gonna get back on our winning ways.
I hope if it doesn't
agree.
rain.
Shane
I
Bieber.
agree.
Yeah, you
Yes.
believe in Bieber. I know you
Yes,
do.
so I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to talk more about the Guardians with you, but we got to talk Browns.
I thought we wanted to talk harvesting.
I want to know what were you harvesting?
His crops.
Those are crops. So
Anything specific?
well, do you know what? Today that was the soybeans and corn out on
cool.
the farm out there. And actually today also we're as an apple farmer, and now it's my community at the core, and we're repurposing, revitalizing, reinvigorating Appalachia. So repurposing coal mines and to have planted 125,000 apple trees.
Good Lord.
On an old
Essentially trying to shift Eastern Kentucky from a coal economy to, you want it to be
farming.
like the Pacific Northwest. You want it to be the next great apple area.
Well, fossil fuel's been an amazing helper in our country over the last 150 years.
Sure.
But fossil fuel, climate change, global warming has massively had an effect. And if we don't reinvigorate, repurpose our thought process towards things like fossil fuel, this extreme weather that we've been seeing, whether it was the hurricane down in South Florida, the flooding in eastern Kentucky. Unfortunately, this issue is going to get worse. So besides the environmental side of it, boy, and Governor Andy Beshear in Kentucky had a statement. He said when they had the floods in eastern Kentucky, he said so many people lost everything during those floods, and they had nothing to start with. And that was such a profound impact on me. And
especially, I worked for 3 years in the area that was flooded. That's where Tim Couch is from, and we were on a text chain this morning
we were talking with Tim on that. Yeah.
Tim will tell you the devastation in that area is unspeakable.
Right.
Still, months
Yes.
later.
And from the devastation of what they went through from a personal standpoint, and then on top of the economy and the ability to have and support your families just isn't there. So from a health perspective, it's really tragic. And then from an economic perspective, they're really at a loss. So to be able to come in and implement training programs and educational programs and real life jobs and programs that really reimagine and repurpose and reinvigorate not only the land, but the economic, the community, the families. I'm just super proud of that.
Not to mention, those are the same communities like some in Ohio that were taken advantage of by the drug companies.
The
OxyContin and all
opioid
that.
epidemic there is unspeakable.
Unfortunately, we have this issue here in Northeastern Ohio, and unfortunately by Saturday afternoons, a lot of times our morgues are filled up from the overdose deaths that are unfortunately
Bernie,
happening.
I'm glad you said that, because I know we're getting off topic and we'll get to the Browns in a second, but there are 300 opioid deaths in America every single day. That's like a major jetliner every single day going down and everybody on board. Can you imagine the attention that would get? One, and then one the next day, and the next day, and the next day? We'd be asking the FAA, what's going on?
And the Sacker family that started us got a total pass.
Well,
it's horrible.
The
the
wellness perspective of even myself, to be able to have sat and done interviews with you guys 5 to 10 years ago, where I was 4 years ago diagnosed with 5 years left of cognitive brain function, to not be able to articulate, enunciate, communicate multiple syllable words. Heck, we've done interviews where you really only catch half the words I'm saying. To be able to from a health perspective, be able to revitalize and reimagine myself from a health and wellness perspective is actually how I started learning about the fossil fuel and some of the toxins that releases to these people down there, on top of the economic disadvantage that they have. So being able to tie that all together, and not only up here but also down there, to be able to bring wellness programs and training programs from a lifestyle perspective, but also from an economic perspective, it's essential to what I'm doing.
Keep doing that work.
It's awesome.
I follow it closely, and I know I've been seeing what you're doing, and it's great. Keep it up.
It's awesome that you've been through so much personally, and you're always out there advocating for people. It's really
thanks. You know what?
It's exhausting, and it makes us all feel bad about ourselves.
I feel so lazy.
It is a little. At times it gets a little exhausting, and I'm not saying this to put ourselves or myself up on a pedestal, but we've been so blessed, and I almost believe I've been kind of given these experiences or almost given this knowledge of it, not only to share with people, but it's almost a responsibility. And some of the things that I've gone through from a personal standpoint that we were talking about with the opiate issues, and with people trying to figure out healthy alternative ways to get themselves personally healthy. And from an economic standpoint, I've had to do that myself.
Right.
And being able to, sometimes years ago, it wasn't easy to share. This, what I'm saying cavalierly now today, wasn't easy to say 5 years ago. But with the, as Jay, unfortunately, you being so astutely right, with over 300 people basically a day.
It's stunning.
Dying of overdose deaths. And that's the ones we know about, because
so
many are that. And then sometimes it's a lot of people our age where your heart just stops.
Right.
Yeah. It's a lot of times is, we don't want to say that's what it was, but we are absolutely.
These are what we know for sure. There's 300 deaths that are officially recorded as overdose, opioid overdose.
Yeah, and it's
stunning.
And we know we're over medicated in our country.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pharma's over medicating us, and to be able to come up with healthy alternative ways to live a holistic lifestyle and get away from that.
You're the poster child for that.
Thank you.
Because when we first started hanging out, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago now, I was really, and I can say this to you now because you're in a better place, but when I first saw you physically with my own eyes, I was taken aback. You were you just didn't look healthy. And you've since told me that's because you weren't. But that's why every time I see you now, I'm just like,
detail.
This guy
Factually,
is. I mean, and you know it because I say it now every time I see you. How great you look now. I know you feel good. You're just. You are the poster child for how things can turn around if you're doing the right things.
Thank you.
If you're doing the right things.
You were able to, heal yourself and get healthy and regular and ready to go and back to your normal self. You got any suggestions on how to get the Browns defense there?
Yeah, can you fix them?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm down about 100 pounds from my 7, 8 years ago weight.
Yeah.
I actually think we need to transfer that weight that I lost into our defensive tackles and linebackers.
Little slim.
You know?
Can we do that? So
No, 'cause
we
from a
point out all these problems every week. The defensive backfield isn't communicating. There's breakdowns. The ends aren't getting home. We never blitz. The middle of the run line is awful. Our second layer and the linebackers missing tackles. Like, of all of this, if you had to focus on one thing, because that's how you fix a burning building, like you go in for the heart of the fire. Where is the heart of the fire, this defense? What do you have to fix first?
Wow, Jay, you just mentioned 5 points, and I want to disagree with all 5
Good.
of them.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Unfortunately, I don't think you are, and that's really kind of the issue right there when you have 4 or 5 points right there. But one of the things that was clear last week when the LA Chargers came into the game as the worst running team in the NFL. They had 236 yards all season, averaging 59 yards a game. And then they get 238 yards, 2 yards more in one game against us than they did.
We bring out the best in people.
And that being said, and watching the New England Patriots last week start developing their running game, and Stevenson running for 166 yards, knowing Bill Belichick, that running game and that physical stuff is going to come right at you. And we talked about this when I did the show the first day you guys started this year.
Right.
We talked about being concerned about the run defense, being light at the defensive tackles before the season, and being undersized at the linebackers. If we're winning, and teams need to throw against us with the pass rush, we could get up the field with their defensive ends. But if we're losing, or the team's able to play ball control, our inability to really stop the run when a team wants to physically run at us has really been exposed. I was concerned, we were concerned about that before the season started. Unfortunately, it's massively played out as the season's materializing, and as we see a game coming up this week, with a rookie quarterback, a Western Kentucky Hilltopper coming in, 17 for 21 last week, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. A lot of his completions were off of play action. So Bill Belichick played a game last year at Buffalo where he did not throw the ball at all.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he wants to come back to Cleveland and do that, but I wouldn't put it past him to somehow, some way, he ultimately wants to get the W, and stopping the run has been exposed. And
by the way, Bernie had a great line on his podcast that I saw a clip this morning when you were talking about, because somebody mentioned, I can't remember who mentioned Deion Jones, joining the Browns. Not Deion Jones. is it Deion Jones?
Yeah,
Deion Jones.
I know it sounded wrong in my head. And then you were talking about Ramondre Stevenson. Somebody said that he's on the IR, and then Bernie goes, yeah, I think those 2 players that Ramondre Stevenson just ran over, they're going on the IR now because he had a good game last week. But Bernie, here's my question: Is it scheme because Joe Woods doesn't really have an aggressive style of defense? Is it the players? We knew that, as you said, that they were not great at defensive tackle, especially. But is some of it just, there's just got to be more effort and more anger in terms of, we've been humiliated the last few weeks. Let's go. Let's kick some ass here.
Yeah, I really like the Coach Stefanski even keel professional approach, but there are times and situations where the anger, the emotion, the adrenaline, I think has to play into it. And one of the things I talked about on the podcast this week, and I was been thinking about since then, and as you kind of get ready for this week, is we play kind of the three safeties, the 4-2-5, the lighter linebackers and stuff, and we've been playing kind of zone cover 4 coverage where you're kind of getting your pressure with 4 guys. One of the things I really think we could create is to that aggressiveness, to that motivation, is almost playing more blitz coverage. And you could do blitzing to stop the run and stuff. And when you have when you have teams that are physically going at you and you have miscommunication issues like we've been having sometimes in these zone defenses, actually by locking up man coverage, you could get more guys around the line of scrimmage. And I know I'm covering you, Bull. You know you're covering me.
Oh, I'm way too fast for you, bro.
That really, well, actually, everybody's too fast for
Not
me.
me.
Okay.
Not me.
But actually, when you know it's man to man, and you know I've got you in lockdown, and and the other guys know they're blitzing, as opposed to look, I'm going to read and react from you from this distance, as opposed to I'm getting up in your face like this, and I know I got to get past you, and I'm closer to the line of scrimmage. That playing aggressiveness, playing at you, in some of those run blitzes, I think would absolutely be something that you need to do to.
Be great to see it.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen much of it, and I think part of we were talking about the turnover differential and how at the end of every year, and you know this being a quarterback, the one stat, if you just want to look at one number and figure out what kind of year they had, the plus minus is the stat to look at. We talked about it this year. Philly is number one. They're the only undefeated team left. The Browns have a 0 turnover ratio right now. They're middle of the road. And for some reason, and I think that you force turnovers as a team. Some of them are luck, tip balls, whatever. You know, you strip the ball.
But with pressure, you create.
You increase
those
the
tip balls.
likelihood of getting turnovers, which increases the likelihood of you winning when you can play aggressive. That's why I just can't understand. Is it Joe doesn't think he has the guys at the back end of the defense for that? Why are we seeing absolutely no creative schemes and stunts and blitzes? It's like we're sending 4 every single time, and we're not getting home with 4.
Yeah, I think, again, I wish I could disagree with you. I wish I could criticize that. And I think it's, I think that's...
Grab your mic, Burn. It just came off your jacket.
Oh, okay.
Clip it back on there.
I think that's clear, though, that not only to us, but also to the coaches, and
You mean the opposing offenses know that they're not going to see any blitz?
No, I mean to our coaches, what they're talking
right.
about. And as you're preparing for a game and a new game like this, and not wanting to give up what your game plan is going to be, I don't think you want to agree from a coaching or a Browns perspective with us. But I do think that, and I have no inside information in terms of talking with the coaches or talking with the front office, but I have to concur with you that has to be pretty clear that this week, after Sunday's game, where Andrew Berry went out an hour after the game and made a trade for Deion Jones.
Right.
He wasn't the only one working on the defense that day, too.
Yeah.
So from a coaching perspective, we've seen that this has not worked, specifically the last few weeks, and teams have caught on to that. We know Bill Belichick, if we just line up in that 4 down lineman, cover 4, soft zone look, he's going to smash it right at us.
Yeah,
so we know that. He's going, I believe this week, there's no question, we're going to come up with a creative front or two and a blitz package or two that creates guys around the line of scrimmage and puts our secondary on notice, almost like in the old days, what Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield, where, okay, guys, you got these 2. Okay, you knock them down. You 2 knock out those 2, and then the rest of us, the 9 guys remaining, are going to stop the guys in between the numbers.
McNuggets has some news to pass along.
Yeah, we got to do real quick. We got a little breaking news here. Game 2 of the ALDS tonight between the Guardians and the Yankees, as we alluded to, could be postponed. Well, now it is officially postponed. They will play Game 2 tomorrow at 1:07 in the afternoon on Friday. So that does push back Game 2 to Friday.
You know, the interesting thing about that, Bull, maybe you can help me on this because I don't know. we saw that the shadows became a huge issue. Huge issue.
Yeah, I can't remember in Yankee Stadium.
I'm trying to think of the shadow pattern at Yankee Stadium. I can't.
It's not coming.
I can't remember.
I love that you're trying to think of the shadow pattern at Yankee Stadium right now.
The reason I'm thinking of that
I
is
know
because
it matters.
it is. You were at the game Saturday.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, TV doesn't do it justice because the cameras can auto-adjust the iris, and it makes everything look bright.
Yeah.
But when you're at field level and you're trying to see that baseball, it comes out of the hand stark white.
For some reason.
And by the time it crosses
He had
the
amazing
edge of
seats for the
pitcher's
last
mound,
game. We've had to hear about it for 3 days.
it's dark.
I
You can't
remember,
see it.
He didn't invite you?
the
No,
Blue-
can you believe it?
I
I'm in
think the Blue
boonies.
Jays have it. If they open a dome, I think the Texas Rangers have it a little bit, and I think the Astros
Most
have it.
stadiums, do, because the way they're situated so that the sun isn't in the player's eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of them are situated so that's never a problem.
Right.
And so you do get a shadow pattern at just about all the ballparks. I just can't remember at Yankee Stadium.
I hope the
how
shadow
it
pattern
creeps in.
helps us and hurts them. Let's be positive about this.
You know what?
Well,
They're the ones who hit, not us.
Here's my theory on that. I think it helps the Yankees immensely, and here's why. As the day gets older and the shadows get worse, that's when you tend to get into your bullpens. Well, our bullpen already has the advantage. I think the reason the Rays bullpen looked as good as ours did is because our hitters were hitting with bags over their heads. They couldn't see the baseball. So it's also going to make anybody pitching in the 3:30, 4:30, 5:30 hour, it's going to make the pitchers that much more unhittable. So I think it is an advantage for their bullpen.
It could depend on the day, too. If it's a cloudy day, it might not matter.
If it's cloudy, it won't matter.
You know, I don't know what the forecast is, but it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to watching the game
Why wouldn't they just
tonight.
play those simultaneously? They just want to make sure everyone can see every playoff game?
Yeah, right.
That's why
They're trying
they
to
can't?
maximize their ratings potential.
Well,
I know people are going to get all upset now. What are they supposed to do? They're not. They don't
I'm
want
not
to put
mad.
games
No
at
one's
the
mad
same
yet,
time.
Bull.
No, you know what?
Fans always complain when there's a day game.
Well, Jensen Lewis actually
Don't get
had
pre-mad at everyone.
Jensen Lewis had a theory that he thinks it's good or I don't know if he said good, but everybody's saying, oh, it's tragedy if Game 2 is rained out because that means Bieber wouldn't be able to come back on short rest for Game 5. But this is what Jensen Lewis tweeted this morning. Was that this morning?
Yeah, this morning.
He says, not going to lie, hoping Game 2 of Cleveland, New York gets postponed tomorrow afternoon. So he must have put this out yesterday.
No,
Why,
two,
you asked?
two tomorrow afternoon.
Oh,
So
two
it was
tomorrow
this
afternoon.
morning,
Okay.
yes.
Strength of Cleveland bullpen far outweighs the New York bullpen and will put Aaron Boone in a precarious spot of deciding how much and how often to use his high level.
I think in the end, who knows? You never know.
Well, you know how it is in playoff baseball. You try to make something out of it. You analyze everything that's going on.
Yeah, and unlike in the regular season, in the playoffs, you manage your pitching staff to win that game. You really do.
Yeah.
And so,
but you also in the playoffs, you are, unless it's a deciding game, you are managing with tomorrow in mind with your bullpen.
Right, but you're not. But you can't. I mean, you have to win the game you're playing because you might not get to tomorrow, or tomorrow may not be as meaningful. You might not have a situation to use that pitcher.
Right.
So you're not going to hold that pitcher.
Bernie, this is the part of the show where the dads talk baseball, and we watch it like a tennis game.
Did you grow up a big baseball fan, Bernie?
I'm gonna need my chiropractor. After
I know.
Yeah.
Did you play baseball?
Oh,
I
I
can't
love
remember.
baseball. Yeah.
You played?
Oh, yeah.
And
I played
Bernie-
baseball. I actually think I was better at baseball when I was younger than football.
Really?
Yeah.
So how come you didn't stick with it?
You know, when I got the zest for football, and
that was
the excitement of being out there on Friday nights in high school, that was just so special to me, and being the quarterback.
Speaking of the time of day,
I get it.
Speaking of the time of day, did you have a preference on when you played, as far as 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and sometimes maybe a Monday night game? Which one was which one did you like the most? And which
This
one
sounds
exactly?
cocky. That's a beautiful question. Okay, I love the night games. I love the playoff games. I love the games when I was the only quarterback playing. Okay? Because I knew everybody else was watching, no matter what they said, and I always wanted to be good when that happened. So Monday night games are very special to me. I know, as I'm showing my age now, because there's primetime games about every day now.
Thursday, Sunday, Monday.
But in the old days,
I'm pretty sure there's an NFL game on. Jaguars are playing right now.
You were the only guy in town, so that was special to me. And and to Bull, to your point, I created an enthusiasm and excitement within me that, you know, I would try on the exterior. I would pretend like I'm cool and calm, but in the inside, I was rolling. So to be able to come out in those games when you were the only one playing, that was something.
I remember,
and it sounds cocky, but I had a very good record on those primes.
I remember the Monday night game, because Monday Night Football, you got to think about it.
It was way more an event.
It was huge. Like, and the Browns weren't on Monday night as much as you wanted them to be. And I remember the game against you guys played the 49ers. And I remember y'all playing at home. And I remember my dad, at that time, my mom and dad is like, bedtime's 9 o'clock. Back then, Monday Night Football come on, man.
I hadn't thrown my bombs yet.
Look,
you got to stay up a little later.
My dad, shout out to my dad. I love him to death, because he listened to my mom about everything. Whatever she says goes. But when it came to sports, I knew I was in there. He's like, the boy gets to say, I was sleepy as hell.
So that game you're talking about, the 49ers Monday night game, was actually 1993. Last time the Cleveland Browns started out 2-0. I was the QB. Bill Belichick was the head coach then.
Wow.
He was the QB for that. And
who started? Was it Steve Young starting for the?
Steve Young, myself against Steve Young, and I had Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson,
by the way,
Thriller with a couple of fades.
Michael Dyson, right? I remember he caught two.
But here's the question, Bernie: how were you able to call the plays with Leroy Horde on the team, because he never stops talking?
I do love Leroy. I know.
It's hard to get into
And
that.
I tell you, Leroy, that's the only time Leroy didn't talk was in the huddle.
Was on the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shut up at that point.
But you know what? That was that. Go back for those memories to have been to that game on Monday night in 1993, and actually again last time we were 2-0, and I got to play the 49ers twice that year because we beat them that night on Monday night. I got released. And we were in first place a couple weeks later and got to play the 49ers in the NFC Championship game to get this.
I remember that. I was just, at the time, I was just like, hold on. Like, I'm 40 now. So that time, it's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, what you mean he got released? Like, just. I had to ask my dad.
You weren't the only one.
I was confused. I was like, what is a release? I had never heard release before.
One of my favorite Bernie stories is your last play with the Browns. And I know you said it, because every time I'm with them, I ask them to tell it again. But it's so good, you got to share it with our audience.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the 49ers game. A couple weeks later, we're playing the Broncos again. And it's like week 7, we're in first place. And they had real aggressive safeties, Dennis Smith and Steve Atwater. And they really hit, and they came, they played tight to the line of scrimmage. And during the course of the game, again, and I believe the quarterback were a result-oriented position, so you need to make plays when they show themselves. And teams come up, like I believe we're going to come up with some defensive packages this week from the blitz perspective to stop the run from our defense against the Patriots offense. I know that other teams are going to do that to me. So there'll be stuff every week that you hadn't seen on film. So seeing these guys during the game, it came up to me, but they kept squeezing Michael, Dyson, Jackson, Thriller, coming across the middle on a square inch at like 14 to 16 yards. And to me, that's the ultimate sign of disrespect when defensive backs don't respect my ability to throw the ball deep over their head. So when they're squatting, and back in the old days, you could kill a defenseless receiver. So it wasn't.
You could. And there would be
do anything.
You could kill the guy.
Carry him off on a stretcher, no flag.
And I prided myself. I never threw a football above your chest over the middle of the field. But today, you want to throw the ball above your chest because you're not allowed to hit the guy. And you get an automatic interference, roughing the hitting a defenseless receiver call. So seeing that, knowing those guys are doing that, and then knowing that I had changed plays the previous couple weeks and that I was probably in hot water if it failed, I didn't. And communication is such an issue, whether it's in football or in life. It's amazing how you could just tell somebody something. You could look each other in the eye, you could say yes, and then you flat out forget it. Okay? So to make sure that you didn't forget, I looked Michael Jackson in the eye and said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a square and takeoff. But just in case you got concussion issues like me, or you can't remember, and back then now the grass and everything is beautiful. It's real grass and stuff, but that's a landfill down at Old Cleveland Stadium.
Was
So,
the dirt infield still there?
it was the dirt infield was
Yeah.
there,
Third base was still out there.
and they had, but all the whole by that part of the season it was almost all mud and stuff. So they spray painted it green. So you had all this pretty dirt down there. So just to make sure he understood it, I said, now let's be clear. We're going to go down just like a granimal. 16.
This is crazy.
Drawing the play in
This
the
is
dirt.
crazy.
Do it to make sure.
Are you serious?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then going to the line, and you go to the line, hey, I got my ass in real trouble right now, guys, so you need to block a little longer here, okay, because this is a square and takeoff. Everybody else stay in. Okay, Leroy, stay in. Okay, don't go out. We need extra blocking, and to have it work like that. So it works. He gets a touchdown. I'm kind of happy walking off the field. And I kind of thought Bill was joking with me.
Right,
right.
right.
He wasn't as festive as I was.
So he was still upset that even though it worked, he was like, no, that's
He'd
not.
rather fail with his call than succeed with Bernie.
That's crazy, right? We still see this to this day. Some of that stuff going on.
His way or the highway, right?
Well,
So what happened the fallout from that was obviously it brought into the Cleveland sports lexicon the term diminishing skills.
Well, I didn't think that was going to make it my last pass as a Cleveland Brown, a touchdown like that. But yeah, that set a domino up, and literally within 36 hours, I was released. Within about.
When did you know that it was going to happen? When it actually happened, or did you sense before that it was coming down?
Actually, I was coming to practice on Monday afternoon, and Mary Kay Cabot called.
Oh, wow.
And said that
Breaking stories even back then.
You were whacked. Yeah, because back then.
At least you got to hear it from a friend.
Wait,
Yeah.
the team didn't even tell you? You found out from Mary Kay?
Yeah, Mary Kay called my office. Yeah.
That's crazy that the team didn't tell you.
One might almost call that classless.
Wow.
Can't imagine that.
Yeah, that was.
But you got that
Look
thing.
at that. Look at that.
Hey,
Oh,
that's
my
a reminder.
God.
Just a reminder.
Just a reminder. My gosh, man. I wear that everywhere.
You know what was cool too was got to play Frisco twice that year and get the AFC Championship monkey off my back by winning the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
And Eddie DeBartolo from Youngstown, Ohio was the owner of the 49ers then. And back then there was a no fraternization rule. The opposing owners don't even ever they never talk to the other players and stuff.
Right.
And to have, and it's probably one of the best compliments I think I had after a game was after the Browns Monday night game that your dad let you stay up a little late for.
Remember that forever.
It was cool. I mean, that game finished at like 1 o'clock, 1:15 in the morning, and back then we're pretty good winners, but we were not good losers. So to have Mr. DeBartolo come by the Browns locker room and come in and congratulate me for playing that game. And then to get released and have that happen, and then to be playing in Dallas for the NFC Championship game, and to beat him again, and to have my last pass as a Cowboy go for a touchdown too, to have him come to the locker room after that game was super cool.
So we don't have a Super Bowl, so we don't know what that feels like, but we want to feel like we have a part in one. So tell us that you playing San Francisco as a member of the Browns helped you beat them as a member of the Cowboys and ultimately get to a Super Bowl, so that we kind of feel like we have something to do with it.
It absolutely did, because my plays that I got the 49ers on in the Browns game were fades, takeoffs. So I hit Michael Jackson on that. In this, knowing that I did that against him, and knowing that I talked so much smack in that game that I'm going to throw fades at him, I knew that I set that up in the Cowboys game. So when they're in press blitz coverage, he had known I'd thrown takeoffs, fades against him in the Browns game, and then I told him I'm going to do that in the Cowboys game. And that's when you slip in something else and catch him off guard. Now, he was actually smart. He played it really good. He squatted, he cut in front, and God blessed me by letting me see that at the end, and I threw it a little higher. But that was, he played it really good, but that's kind of the mental chess match you do by talking smack,
Bernie, you talk about no fraternization. I'm curious because, I think I mentioned before I remember that famous poster of you and Boomer standing back to back.
Right.
But I don't
He
know
was
that-
standing on his toes, too.
But I don't know that I've ever asked you, like, what do you have any kind of relationship with him at this point, or no?
Yeah, no, I love
Are
Boomer.
you guys good
Yeah,
friends?
yeah.
Or
I really
'cause that
do.
was a great rivalry.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
that
was.
It was really the only time in the history of the two franchises that they've been good at the same time.
Yeah, me and Boomer had a lot of fun, and we still are today. to
That
this day.
wasn't my favorite Bernie poster, though, if I'm being quite honest. Can you guess what my favorite Bernie poster was? Take a guess from my childhood. What do you think it was?
so many.
What poster? I know.
Air Raid.
It's the Air Raid. I couldn't find it, like a decent high-res version.
Ah!
But I was able to print it out. That's the Bernie Kosar Air Raid poster.
See,
This
it's
is my favorite.
That's fine.
Yes, that's
That's
the Bernie Kosar
super
Air
fun.
Raid poster.
No, that's not Bernie Kosar. That's Tom Cruise.
Is that not fantastic?
That was pre-daughters with hair.
And you know why he got that? He's the last, I would say, football-wise, he's the last of a dying breed. Like, in that era, there were actually quarterbacks that would call their own games.
Oh yeah, you were expected to. I mean, I was coached. I was coached so well by Howard Snellenberger, and then Jimmy Johnson had the trust and faith in me that I had learned the offense so good that I was expected to call the plays. Matter of fact, Coach Snellenberger, who learned it from Coach Shula, who learned it from Bear Bryant and Paul Brown. So I mean, I got
quite a tree.
I got the awesomest tutelage of that. Says that the coaches coach you up, and that again, I said on the podcast this week, we're erasers. We have to erase coaches' mistakes. They teach us so good that they guess what the safeties are going to be doing out there, and that I get under center, and I'm the last one to see the safeties. It is my job. It's my responsibility.
The NFL was better then, by the way. I think it was better then because you're right. It's almost as if the teacher told you the answer to a question that ultimately changes.
Yeah, like
and that's what football is. They're giving
But
you a
don't you think some of the veteran quarterbacks today are still doing that?
No, nobody calls.
Oh, we're not doing it.
No. I don't mean.
Some.
But they
You can check out of them.
the play.
Yes, you can certainly check out of them, but even that doesn't happen a lot anymore.
No, some do,
Brady
but not
probably.
Rodgers does
not
it.
enough. So like
Right.
our scenario, and look, you can't really criticize the Cleveland Browns offense. We are scoring north of 26 points a game.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we are one of the top tier offenses in the league. That being said, though, us QBs and us offensive guys, we're perfectionists. So even though we are doing exceptionally good by NFL standards, you expect to do a little more.
Yeah.
And like the 4th and 1 call last week, if you really understand and you trust the quarterback, and it's part of your philosophical belief, knowing also that Jacoby is probably 98% on his quarterback sneaks, when you get in certain alignments, you could tell if the quarterback sneak is there. And last week, that would have probably had a better chance on 4th and 1 than the OT power play by Pull and Joe Patino. And that, when you trust a Q and you have that, and you know that's your responsibility and that's your mandate, you kind of look for that stuff, and you alleviate subtle problems like that. And that should, to me, in the old days, that should seamlessly have happened without any of us knowing.
Yeah.
Good point.
And, well, it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys used to check all the time.
It is crazy.
Oh, yeah, like I had it.
But now it's just
But
it's
coaches
rare.
are so scared of getting fired. They don't want to give up. Now they need so much control, these coaches. But I'm curious, Bernie, like Nick Chubb, if you had to pick one player on the Browns that would fit in any era in the history of the NFL, wouldn't it be Nick Chubb? Like,
Oh,
he's
absolutely.
So old school, I feel like.
Nick Chubb. I mean, look at right now. To be leading the NFL in rushing at 593 yards, he has almost, I think, like 420 or 430 yards of yardage after contact.
Amazing.
Just after contact. That's 4th in the NFL. Okay, after contact. So he fits in any era for sure, and in any down and distance situation too.
Bernie, you have an earpiece draped over your left shoulder. Can you put that in? Because we're going to do, we're taking questions from viewers on the internet on certain memories that you have. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you about a memory. I don't know if you can get a shot of this, Steve, what camera you'd like me to hold it to. This is a picture of you in the White House.
Wow.
And President Ronald Reagan is doing a very poor attempt at trying to throw a football. I know you weren't known for your form, but your form was far better than the Gipper's. What do you remember about that day, about that moment?
Well, first he was a little. I had him more sidearm at first. He was throwing 3/4 like myself. He really.
He played a football player in movies too.
He was the Gipper.
He looked terrible.
How could he not do that then?
Well,
Back in those days, sports movies, they didn't look like they could play, I feel like.
yeah. So for him, he had come out. President Reagan came out to practice a couple times. We used to practice at Baldwin Wallace in the day. So he'd come out. And for me and him to kind of play catch like that, it was, and to be able to be invited to stay in the Lincoln bedroom was pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
And but he did throw that form was phenomenal there, and he actually did throw a really nice.
He's
football.
an athlete. That's what I was going to say. Like that's why it looked weird. I would expect that if I saw like Bernie Sanders trying to throw a football or something like that.
Yeah,
but I'm like, come on, Reg.
I'd have had to show up for that. Like people be saying they ain't going to the White House. I would just have to go, bro. Just for the simple fact of being like, you don't get that often, man.
For the experience.
The experience alone, right? Like just going through there, it had to been amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely intimidating. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, when you have an opportunity to be with the president, be in the White House like that was absolutely inspiring.
You steal anything? Cool. Be honest.
I'm trying to get him on a Willy Wonka.
Something.
I saw some soul stuff.
Anything like that? You got a little something, right?
Did you find Kennedy's secret passage that he used to go get?
I didn't find those secret passages there.
All right, what's our first question, McNuggets?
Yeah.
Bernie, can you hear me real quick?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before we do the internet questions, I have a question I have to ask you that I think we've failed as a show for not asking yet. The new roughing the passer penalties in the NFL. Obviously, it was a different time than when you played, but we got to know, what is your take on how soft some of these referees and these calls have gotten in the NFL?
God, do I wish I got these calls back in the day.
Oh, my God.
You'd still be playing.
I probably wouldn't have learned all the health and wellness stuff, okay, because I wouldn't have been death after 40
Did you hear what Troy Aikman said on the telecast Monday night?
No.
He said it's time for the competition committee to take off their dresses.
Yeah. Not a great terminology, but I get his point.
Yeah. No, his point is a good one.
Yeah.
And actually, the NFL has said that they're going to take another look at it and constantly try to tweak
The
this.
problem is we're always talking about concussions, and so now they've overcorrected.
Yeah, one of the tough things too about it is I get my helper here, huh, Mike?
I'll do this just for anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
he don't help me out like that.
You know what? I think that's an earpiece for the other ear. It's molded to go into his right ear.
Well, it's my first time on the job.
Most shows have what's called an A1, which is an Audio 1 tech.
Okay.
And we have Mike Bull.
We ain't got no money like that. We trying to.
How's that, Bernie? Does that
I
feel
went
like
to the
it's in
Ohio
there a
School
little
of
better?
Broadcasting.
But if you want to super chat us, maybe we'll make enough money to hire an A1
Stop
tech.
that.
There it is.
Listen, everybody hates the rule. I think one of the answers is to be able to replay those calls and say, okay, obviously nothing happened here. Let's move on.
Yeah, you know what? Part of me initially said yes to that.
Yeah.
And then the CTE hadn't overly affected me yet, so I had a complete flashback of the reviewable pass interference calls. Mm-hmm. And if we're reviewing roughing the quarterback, are we going to review it like we reviewed?
They screwed that up. In my opinion,
Yeah.
in my opinion, Bernie, what they should do for replay is there should be a replay official at every stadium. The NFL's making zillions of dollars. They can afford to have an official that's in the booth watching on 4K TVs and immediately could signal down to the referee. He's got 30 seconds to get the call right, maybe 20. If you can't figure it out in that little time, it's not worth changing.
No, they got to call New York, wake the guy up.
Right, it takes forever.
Hey, buddy.
If you were doing it with the guy and it was just like when there's a call wrong, we get it right, whatever the penalty is.
You know
and
what
we correct it.
Isn't that
best is
you know,
tennis.
as you're saying that, I'm thinking, and I'm probably going to make a smart aleck joke here, but
like
it's like I'm thinking about, don't they have that now with that independent doctor who's watching what happens,
Yeah,
and
that's
if he
not going
sees
well.
something,
Right.
you're supposed to stop and I'm sensitive to this. I talk
Sure.
a little bit on my podcast
Tua
about
thing,
it with the Tua and the Dolphins. I mean, that's who I actually finished my career with.
Right.
Those doctors were my doctors. I see why in the 80s and 90s we have these concussion issues now. It's one thing to see that happen in the late 80s, early 90s, but to have the same people And the same people doing that still to it today, and knowing what I've had to come
that's the same
through.
staff?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
same
ridiculous.
stuff, same set of doctor network. So it's incredible to me that it's really still happening. And again, even though I'm feeling significantly better than years ago, I mean, there's still ramifications for this stuff.
How many concussions did you have, Bern?
Well, now I say over 100, but if in the old days, it's probably more, because the only ones you counted in the old days was when you were unconscious.
Yeah, when you sleep.
So,
here.
did I have? We remember the Mason
You used
Rudolph.
to say, "Oh, you got your bell rung."
Oh yeah,
you're
seeing
concussed
started.
now.
Those are subconcussive blows.
Yeah.
But I was probably unconscious like that Mason Rudolph one a couple years ago, maybe 20 times.
Good
my
during
God.
NFL games.
Yeah.
And
So
then you got to think about like this too. He played 4 years of high school. Then you play in college. All of those practices.
Yeah.
Not to mention getting to the league. So
And they used to hit in practice,
Yeah,
too.
and 2-a-days were a real thing. And back then, they wouldn't even give you water sometimes.
Oh, we started a career, and again, God bless you, Coach Stellenberger, Coach Shula, 3-a-days and stuff. Yeah, half a glass of water for 3-a-days and 3-hour practices. We're taking salt tablets, giving salt tablets. That's how old we are. Just to really make sure you're dehydrated.
Wow.
Sit in a sauna for 5 hours and then go practice.
I'm surprised. I'm gonna be honest. You probably had more than me, but I've had 13, 14 major surgeries and about 5 or 6 little procedures. But man, I'm surprised people back then could even walk today or talk today, because it was just savage back then. It was, and you got guys hitting in practices, pads all the time. The salt tablet stuff is you had to earn water. You're like, hey, you're not gonna get it. Now we know, with all the technology and science, you think back and say, wow, I'm happy to just be where I'm at today.
Right. I mean, look at the wham blocks, the KO shots.
Crackbacks.
That's how the league used to promote itself.
We used to say, let's ear hole you. Let's ear hole you. I mean, and be proud of it.
Yeah.
And to the point where.
Did you see the Ricky Williams comments from recently? That he was on a podcast somewhere and he was asked about that, of if the NFL cares. And he started his comments by saying, the NFL cares absolutely not at all about this.
Oh, not one bit. This is all a farce.
This is what was stunning to me, and I wanted to ask you if you knew this was verifiably true or not. He said the average life expectancy of a former NFL player is 57. Is that true? That seems awfully young.
So it's interesting that you're saying that. So I saw a scary stat that if you played more than 7 years in the NFL, your average life expectancy is 57 or 58 years old.
Okay, so that must
That
be.
must
Now,
be
he
it.
didn't
So
qualify it by saying 7
I'm
years.
50. I wear this shirt here, not to promote here The Rock here, but this is to show you why I got these concussions. I played in an era with Lawrence Taylor. This is Michael Kosar. Amazing.
Look at
This
him
guy was
moving his
6'3",
feet.
245.
He'd be suspended for a year if he did that today.
I'm almost 6'6". So he's almost 6.5 feet off the ground at 245 pounds. That's about 0.2 seconds away from a ear hole concussion, a couple broken ribs here. I wouldn't have showed it if I didn't complete the pass, though. Okay?
I can see why you want to celebrate that.
I do this.
crazy.
God bless them, but Michael Kosar, Reggie White, Jerome Brown.
Bruce
I don't
Smith.
want to cry here, but Chris Dolman. These guys all crushed me. They're all dead.
Yeah.
They're all.
crazy.
Michael's passed. Okay, 57 years old.
No
Okay. I've lost so many of my friends. Chris Dolman. Okay, an amazing man that I played against at University of Miami against when he was at Pitt, and then with the Vikings and stuff. And to see, not that they're not only not with us, but the horrible way that they go out. How Chris passed, how Michael passed, how Reggie White. And this is something that, from an awareness standpoint, we're talking about myself and how I got myself somewhat better. Some of the stuff that we need to do as players. The league is not going to help you, players.
Let me ask
They're
you
not
this.
going to help
They
us.
only care
We
about not
have to
getting
help
sued.
ourselves.
Bernie, but you are, and I jokingly called you the poster child of this, because of where you were 10 years ago and where you are today. You rattled off no fewer than 10 numbers today. 5 years ago, you're not doing that. You're just not.
Right. He's sharp. He witty.
Why aren't you the poster boy? Why aren't you employed by the NFL working with former players and current players on exactly, you did it. How did you do it? Why aren't more people following your lead?
I think that the number one expense for an NFL team is a salary cap. The second expense for an NFL team is injury, grievance, and medical, and that.
That's true.
And we are so old that we are a liability, and they don't want to.
They don't want you to live
They
to
don't
80.
want us. So they want us. And I'm not saying this to be mean, nor to cause. They're waiting for us to die. So we are a liability from their P&L, and I don't believe they want to do any health benefits for us. So us players need to help ourselves.
Were you part of the concussion settlement?
Yeah, amazingly, I did that to create a baseline to find out how set up the league is to make sure we're all denied. We're all denied.
You've never seen a penny from the league.
Oh, God, no. All they do is waste your time sending you around the country to doctors that are part of their network to deny you. Matter of fact, we have some of the best. I'm a trustee at the University of Miami. We have excellent medicine at the University of Miami Medical School. Northeastern Ohio in Cleveland with the Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital. We have some of the best medicine in Northeast Ohio. It's amazing to me that when you have to do this stuff, they send you to Chicago, to Kansas City. I flop.
They're sending you guys to doctors that they know are going to deny you.
I mean, sending me why I got to fly through 3 stops to go to Kansas City, to stop off in Chicago. And this again, I ended up having a seizure. Besides the concussions and the surgeries, I've had 14 seizures. Jeez. I've been in a coma twice for 72 and 96 hours. Oh my God. The 4-day one was post one of the NFL running me around like a dog, and I flopped because most of my seizures were in altitude issues with planes. So I flopped in the O'Hare Airport. Oh my God! I shouldn't even have been going through Kansas City.
I'm glad he's saying this because there's a lot of people that believe, they see the money that these guys are making now. They made good money back then, but when you talk about the health risk and the health bills that they accumulate after football is crazy. And the concussion settlement, people talk about, they should be getting money and everything. There's a college concussion settlement. And I know exactly what he's talking about. Because if you go to that concussion settlement, they have a baseline of different things. So the goal is to prove that was either pre-existing or it happened independent of playing football.
Right. Pre-existing,
How
I graduated college in 2.5 years, and now I can't spell college.
Right.
Chidi Ahanatu is a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and I've had conversations with him about this. He said what the league wanted was the big splash headline, NFL to pay billions for concussion settlement. But he said
now it all sits in an escrow account and somebody's
making it. He said the joke of that is, and the NFL is so big and so powerful that nobody can get access to really get to the bottom line number of how much they have spent of those billions of dollars that they were ordered to spend.
And it's torture to get your own information. When you go through that stuff, I'm so naive, I actually thought that the doctors were checking you out for yourself. I did not realize that it was really the NFL checking you out. And you really can't even get your records without torturous due diligence.
Now, knowing all of this, we all are going to watch Thursday Night Football tonight, right? Yeah, yes. Everybody is. That's a sad thing. What does that say?
And you know what? The NFL knows that. We're outraged when we hear a player that's 52 shoots himself in the chest so his brain can be sent off to Boston University to be studied for CTE.
Right. I was saying
we're the first ones to flip on the game
and
on
we complain about
Saturdays,
the
Sundays.
light. We complain about the not enough tackling.
Right now, what we're complaining about is the league's gone too far to protect its quarterbacks.
Yep. Yeah, so we're a mess, and this was a good little intervention, so thanks for that.
I actually don't mind sometimes the quarterback hits are a little crazy, but I like offense, so I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Penalties favor the
I'm
offense.
I'm not one of those, they don't even let them touch you anymore. I've never been one of those.
Well, but for years, the league was marketed as a gladiator, physical, I'm going to try to kill my opponent's sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this for any of the kids who are listening today who should be in school, but it was a kill or be killed. You went out there with the idea of it's okay to kill or be killed because you knew you were trying to do that to me.
Is
so
that
no
mentality different today at a high school level?
It's totally different now.
It is.
It needs to be different.
Have you found that it is? Or I know it needs to be.
It needs to be, guys, if it isn't.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, coaches,
At certain places, it's still.
They tell you,
Right.
like, we come play St. Nations, and there wasn't nothing off limits. We figured out y'all got 50 on offense, 50 on defense. I'm going both ways. We did everything we could to win. That's why when Greg Williams said, when they did the bounty thing, I was confused because that was just the culture. You were always trying to injure somebody. People say, like, what do you mean?
And actually, and to Greg Williams and Sean Payton's defense, every team, every coach, every organization at every level at our age did that.
They just
it doesn't make it right.
But the NFL had to, because it was a PR thing, right? That's all the only reason they cared about it.
Now,
we are shocked that this is going on.
Well, now we understand that, you shouldn't probably put your helmet underneath somebody's chin because you can either kill yourself, be paralyzed, or you're not going to be able to walk.
But the science just wasn't there.
Bernie, so this is the payoff question then, and this is what Ricky Williams was talking about on this recent podcast that I saw. The question was, whether you would go back and do it all over again. And Ricky said that, and I have always said, I've asked this question to over 100 former players, and to a man, every one of them has said, yes, I would. But Ricky took a different approach. Ricky's a really cerebral guy.
Mm-hmm. I love Ricky.
He said, go ask people that are 56. Go ask NFL players that are 56. Well, Bernie, how old are you?
58.
And the life expectancy is 57.
Yeah.
So now, you don't have a
man.
life-threatening condition right now.
Nice job.
You're defying the odds.
Two of those seizures, though, I was looking down at myself. So I don't know.
You saw the light.
that doesn't count.
Every day you walk on this earth from here forward, you're defying the average. Knowing the life that it afforded you and everything that you know about the safety and the mental debilitation that a player suffers, you're 19 years old. Are you still going to the University of Miami? Are you still going to make a career in the NFL, or do you do anything differently?
Well, first of all, coming up in Youngstown, Ohio in the 70s, when the steel mills and the manufacturing jobs was eerily somewhat similar to today in terms of it wasn't there from an economic perspective and a kind of future perspective. It wasn't there. It's almost why I'm so fixated and committed and passionate about community at our core and revitalizing economically depressed areas like that, because that's kind of how I was as a young kid.
Right.
And the options to get to college, to get a degree, just weren't there unless you played sports. So I kind of needed sports to get my education, to get that opportunity. But now I kind of look at it at 58 years old, and I'm not trying to be a martyr, and I'm not trying to patronize myself, but I almost think that God did that for a reason, and that I was meant to do and learn this and go through the things that I've gone through to be able to talk about it today. And again, I'm trying to say it in a cavalier, calm way, but there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of thoughts going through my head that I really believe need to be told to people, whether it's young kids out there and our guys our age, because we need help, we want help, we don't know where to go. And if we go to certain places, we're getting really bad advice that's actually accelerating our death or amplifying our issues, the pain in our head, the inability to remember. So almost like I believe I've been given this gift and
to help others.
A responsibility.
So your answer is, yeah, you would do it again.
Yeah, because I feel like I shouldn't be running from this gift I've been given or this issue, because I've been shown a pathway that's not only helped myself, but I've been shown a pathway to help myself that I'm supposed to be showing and sharing with others.
Have you talked to Jim McMahon recently? How is Jim doing? Because I've had conversations with him about where he's been. His was such a debilitating pain, he was praying to die.
Yeah, so I was with Jim. What day's today? Today's Thursday. I was with him last Thursday.
How's he doing?
And he's still on his crutches, had his surgery, and I'm not his doctor. I want to do his hip, but he almost had his leg amputated below his knee. I mean, we have, again, I got clothes on and stuff, but we have infections that go and affect our extremities, our peripheral nerves. So with CTE, you think, okay, you have the concussion head issues, which unfortunately we absolutely have. That also goes to fingers, extremities, feet, and toes. So if you have infections, cuts on your feet, they tend to be infected. I've had a couple for 4 years with open wounds.
Wow.
Jim's was 2 years, and he almost had to hit his.
Are his migraines any better?
So,
because he was doing some experimental neck
so
stuff.
we're both doing extremely experimental, progressive stuff to increase blood flow in our extremities. Man. Jim, through his chiropractor, has been able to release tension in the neck to create blood flow and more oxygen, because we're deprived of oxygen and blood flow in our extremities. That accelerates the issues in our concussions. I mean, you saw Tua during the game the other day up on the when his fingers started kind of going like this. Yeah. Fencing, that's a midbrain traumatic brain disorder.
Yeah.
If you watch, like myself, I can mask it now because I'm cognizant of it because I know I'm on TV right now. If I wasn't when I first started the podcast, I'm not pitching to look at the podcast, but if you look at the podcast and you're a neurologist, look at the first one. I'm doing the same thing too as
Bernie,
doing.
you used to do that a lot more.
All the time.
You used to do that almost as like I always thought it was a nervous.
No,
twitch,
it's a
and I never asked you
traumatic.
about
It's a traumatic brain. You literally have paralysis in your extremities. So, does it lock up your brain? Yes. Does it lock up your fingers? Does it lock up your toes? Absolutely.
To what he's saying, if you see me, right? So sometimes I hold.
You have to hold something.
You hold my arm or your hand. You hold it because it's just you. It's not a tremor. Sometimes the first time it started happening, you like, do I have ALS? I was like, this is crazy.
I want to get tested for ALS. I'm yelling. The NFL, there's a test out there that they do not want to give to us players that says if you are possibly predisposed for ALS. We have certain signs that we have this stuff. Yet, hell will freeze over before the NFL and these doctors will allow us to get any of these type tests. I've been swimming up that stream for 2 years on this.
I made a statement on this show a couple of weeks ago, and Bull, I know you disagreed with me, and I heard from a lot of other folks that disagreed with me, but I have studied the CTE issue fairly closely because of my years at ESPN. It was a front and center issue, and I, for whatever reason, took a particular interest in it. I did a lot of interviews with doctors from Boston University, and they've got the longest ongoing study of CTE on the planet, and they get the brains of former players and study them.
Right.
And
I mean, I was hanging with Dave Durson and Junior Seau when we were trying to figure out these issues. Now, I hadn't come up with my juicing and IV therapy and some of the creative holistic stuff I'm doing at that point. But both of them, you had said it 15 minutes ago, how both Dave and Junior had unfortunately shot themselves in the chest to save their brain for the research.
Well, to that point, 95% of the brains that Boston University has studied of former NFL players have had CTE.
Yeah.
So my point was that doctors are furiously working on a test where they can detect the enzyme that is present in the brain that right now can only be detected with physical inspection. If they get that test and they can test everybody in the NFL, what happens to the NFL if this Boston University study and those numbers are extrapolated to current day players and 75 or 80% of these players today have CTE? What happens?
Well, I'm to the point of we have it. Guys, you have it. We have it. And I'm more fixated on what do I do about it
But how does the NFL move forward knowing that their sport is turning all of their competitors into
It's tough for me.
we've seen?
It's truthfully tough for me to really think about helping or thinking how they move forward since
you're not worried about that.
They're really waiting for us to die. I mean, it sounds harsh and that, but it's really true. We drop off the radar screen. That's less of a liability. It's less of a person telling the truth about the death that's in our head.
Knowing all that, though, how do you manage to still watch this game and enjoy watching football and watching the NFL product, knowing what they've done?
I'm not sure I enjoy it,
right.
But I actually watch it to see. Now I watch these games to see what doctors and what people are still involved from when they were screwing me.
Can you still enjoy the game to watch the game as the sport that you played and loved at one point?
I'm not sure I enjoy it as much.
No, you
watching
don't.
it.
You can't. Okay.
But it's understandable why.
I totally get it, of course. So you're watching a Browns game you're watching this Browns game this Sunday. What's going through your head while you're watching the game?
When I do watch the game, I try to look at it from the analytical X's and O's perspective. I still can't help but throw myself into what should I be doing as the QB. So I put myself in Jacoby's situation with that.
And how do you feel about people enjoying this sport, knowing what you have been through and your generation of football players been through and what they continue to go through? How does that make you feel about us as fans and watching this and celebrating and enjoying it? I'd imagine I might have a hard time being cool with that.
I don't have a hard time being cool with it, but there are times, and again, I was at a charity event last Saturday, and one of the things I really love music, and there's a cool thing for traumatic brain injuries, which I have, what we're doing at the University of Miami, where music therapy helps in the cognitive rehabilitation of your brain. That being said, I used to listen to heavy AC/DC before every game I played. Okay, listening to AC/DC at the monsterly high levels right now sends your head. Loud music and loud noises. Being at a game actually sends your head into somewhat of a dark place. I don't know how you get with it, but it makes it really tough from that. So really, from that perspective of how do you handle yourself and cope with it in environments now where it starts happening to you. You start actually freezing up, getting partial paralysis to where your fingers aren't moving, your extremities aren't moving. So like in those games, actually, I'm sometimes just trying to get by, because if you have an episode, which I had the other night with a really loud music, and I'm not even drinking and stuff anymore, so you can't even say that. So it ends up being almost a paralysis to where you could talk to me, but no words are coming out. Your fingers may not move, your feet may not move, and you just gotta figure out how to get around that when you're at the game and they're gonna attack you, or you're out doing something. It's a really tricky thing, and that's kind of where back to the responsibility of. It's just not me going through this and trying to deal with it. There's lots of us guys, and a lot of us guys in our mid-50s, we have a hard time admitting that we're frail. Yeah. That we have these, because we're still trying to pretend we're cool.
Well, you talked about your upbringing,
tough guy.
Those practices you went through that you just talked about, where you had to prove your masculinity, that's still ingrained in you from back then, I'm sure, and you're still probably fighting that.
Yes.
That makes total sense. It's great that you're an advocate for the cause, though, for everybody.
Keep
it
fighting
really
that
is.
fight, because anybody that knew you 10 years ago can look at you now.
He's looking good, man.
It's the most remarkable turnaround, because usually it's degenerative and it always goes downhill. I've never seen a player on a decline like that and somehow, some way, miraculously stop it and come back the other way. You look 15 years younger. Your mind is just as sharp as it was when you were 23 years old dissecting NFL defenses. Everybody that knew the game and covered it for a lifetime back then would say of Bernie Kosar, it's impossible for a guy with his physical attributes to succeed in the NFL unless he's Mensa genius smart between the ears. And you're just as sharp today as you were then.
Thanks, bro.
And I'm glad you are. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see.
Are they going to win Sunday?
I felt really good about it. I felt really good about it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
we need to really implement this. We need to really implement some of these changes defensively to get after it, because Bill will be ready for that.
Screw Bill Belichick. Let's kick his ass.
Joe Woods, if you're listening, bring some of that pressure, dog.
Yeah, dial it up. Your podcast. Tell people how they can see it.
Yeah, the Bernie Kosar Show with Hanford Dixon, Top Dog on the Big Play Network.
I watch it. It's great.
It's great.
I watch
it.
it. I'm already subscribed. You can check it out on YouTube. I saw it the other day.
And it's great. It's great, Hanford Dixon. It's great seeing all of the guys because that was my era, the late 80s, early 90s. It's great seeing Met is doing a great job, and Hanford and you, and just anytime I see you guys together, especially. And we have Leroy on every week.
Yeah, I love
And
Leroy. Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say to Leroy right now that we're going to clip and play it when he's on the show next week?
Well, I don't want to compliment Leroy too much, but Leroy was one of the best pass catchers ever. Okay,
Really?
and we had such a cool routine during our games because I would try to act like I was going to run towards the line of scrimmage. Now, we all know I was slow and all know I'm not going to run.
What?
But Leroy and me had such a good routine where he'd call my name, he would fake like he's blocking, but he'd always try to get open. So Leroy had some of the most creative throwing catches and touchdowns, and he's so friggin' resourceful out on the field.
He's a smart guy, too.
He is
man.
super smart. I hate sucking up with all these compliments. You know, 'cause I really want to
Leroy
bust
don't get
his
a big
chops.
head.
Yeah, I don't get a big cranium.
It's too
on
late.
it.
You remember
it's
the
too
night
late.
that we were all out at Johnny's? There was a big group of us, and he was trying to airdrop the picture. The pictures.
Yeah,
to
we're a
me.
little technically challenged.
And
Yeah.
he was sending them to. There was a lady sitting at the table next to us. Her name was Jane, and he kept sending them to Jane's iPhone.
Why do I have pictures
and
of Bernie?
all of us in the group were getting the pictures, but me. And finally, I saw this older woman stand up and say, "Why is someone sending me pictures of Bernie Kosar and Leroy Horde and a bunch of other strangers?" Jane's iPhone. He
At
couldn't
least,
read without
at
his
least they were
glasses.
appropriate.
Yeah, could have been way
Yeah.
worse. Could have been way
Bernie,
worse.
it's always a
Bernie, we
pleasure
love
to
you,
see
buddy.
Hey,
Great, best.
Great Bernie Kosar.
Great having you.
The one and only 19. No one should ever wear that number ever again.
That was
we get
disgusting.
that- can we get that
Josh
retired?
Rosen
I don't know
wearing
why
19.
it's not. I can't figure out why they haven't
Retire
done
that
the right
man.
thing by you and put your name up there.
Come on
and
now.
kill that number forever. He is and will always be my version of the Cleveland Browns. Bernie,
Thank
thanks.
you, guys.
See you
Thanks
tomorrow.
for watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. No Guardians game tonight, so we'll preview Game 2 again tomorrow. We're on a 22-hour break. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
That was awesome, bro.
Hey, he got